One, two. We're coming in hot on a Friday night. What is good? I gotta get the camera right. We got a big show. Really big show tonight. So let me get the camera right. Let's get on. Yeah, am I here? What's up? Stuff all over my face. What's going on? How are we gonna start this show off? We gotta start it off right. I go by Osiris. This is Middle MAGA. What's good? We have an array of topics. I was not going to go live tonight, but I was feeling good, and I kind of compile topics as the day goes on, and sometimes I feel passionate about covering them. So that's what this show is. We're going to talk about all kinds of topics today. It's hard to ignore the topic today of the Middle East. Some people, like myself, are following this very closely. And one of the challenges of following this is that you're seeing a lot of tragedy. I would say tragedy porn is how I would describe it. And it can affect how you view things on multiple fronts because you don't know what's real, you don't know what's not real. And I'm going to bring up someone who I would normally never agree on anything with, and I don't agree with her 100% here, but she's better than the populist right on this topic, that's for sure. Rashida Tlaib, she's actually going after the president. Now, it is convenient because, in my opinion, and I could be wrong because I've been saying this, I don't know, since last year, that they've been trying to get him up out of there. That they want him up out of there. That's what the document stuff was with him. They've got FBI agents or undercover agents, I believe, that have all kinds of information on Joe Biden. It seems like he's on the way out. It's just an instinct. I could be wrong. And look how old he is. He's struggling all around. So I don't know how much courage this is, but it is a little something. She's going after Biden. And this was posted on X by Congresswoman Rashida Tlaib.
We stand with Israel.
Mr. President, the American people are not with you on this one.
Innocent civilians are going to be hurt going forward. I wish I could tell you something different. I wish that wasn't going to happen, but it is going to happen.
I want to thank President Biden for his unequivocal support.
We will remember in 2024.
Whoa. That's aggressive. I mean, she aggressively went after Joe Biden. That wasn't half-stepping. That's my biggest takeaway is that it looks like Joe's going to be replaced. I don't think they would have had that go-ahead to go that hard without that. Because even if Joe Biden capitulates and changes his mind, which it looks like he is putting more pressure on Israel, this is not something you can really come back from. She had in the ad that I don't know who put this together, but she posted it on X. I don't see any credits for who it is. So I don't know who put this together, but she's owning it. She put it up on X. She's right there in it. So it looks like it's her. I mean, if it's not, she should have made that clear. But in the end, this is what got some people got some attention here. In Michigan, she represents Michigan. She saved that for last. Whoever edited this video did that last. I do a lot of video editing. The order that you do this stuff in, it matters. This is done on purpose. She's last. She has the last word. She said, we will remember in 2024. What does that mean? I mean, that's a political threat. I mean, I'm not saying a physical threat. I'm saying that's a political threat. What do you mean you'll remember? Who are you voting for? Remember, she's the one that came in, the clip that we've played and you might have seen many times. Before she even came into office, she was like, we want to impeach that motherfucker. She's talking about Trump. And now she's saying we're going to remember in 2024. Is she saying people are going to stay home? Is she going to vote for Dr. Cornel West? Or is she going to endorse somebody else? I don't know what that means. You know, Eric Adams had that plane turned around on him. That looks like she's in that same realm. She's in that same atmosphere where she might land a plane somewhere and it might have to fly back to wherever she came from because Joe Biden's DOJ found something on somebody. We might see that. Now, I don't condone that. Now, the left is just wackadoo because I am not pro-Palestine. That's a laughable position to me. I don't give a damn about a Palestine, a Palestinian, a Hamasian, a Hamas. So I don't give a damn about none of the Semites over there. But she did put a part in there where John Kirby was honest. And I've played this too. This part right here is a moment of honesty where you have no choice but to be honest.
Innocent civilians are going to be hurt going forward. I wish I could tell you something different. I wish that wasn't going to happen. But it is going to happen.
So when you look at the clips and you don't know what's real, you don't know what's fake, there is acknowledgement that somebody's dying. Somebody's going to die. It has happened and it will continue to happen. Can't hide from that. From the river to the sea. Now that's a phrase that I would never say. Now I don't know. I'm not going to get too much into that phrase. I don't know what it fully means. But I know how some people take that phrase, and we've got a country here. So you see where the left just goes completely off the rails. They're completely emotional is what it is. And Matt Walsh was right. What they do is they take this into another form of attack on Western culture. That's why it's so amped up for them. It's almost like Black Lives Matter, but almost even more amped up because you're seeing the buildings bombed and all the horrific video. With Black Lives Matter, you just had the few incidents. They had to lie about the stats or exaggerate the stats or not talk about the stats of how few black people are injured or killed by cops per year, which was really the height of George Floyd. But that's a serious thing to see Rashida Tlaib come out that strongly against Joe Biden. And we saw Joe Biden, we've seen, after I saw this video, we saw a report that Joe Biden is now putting pressure, more pressure than he already has put pressure on them a little bit, more pressure allegedly on Israel to cease fire, whatever that means. I don't know what ceasefire means. What you're seeing here is Israel's losing the propaganda war. And for those, and I'm not going to be arguing is Israel right or wrong on this one. I'm not on this live. I'm not even touching on that. As you can see, I didn't touch on that too much on this here. But what I will say is that if you care about Israel, then you would probably need to put some of those things. You know, like if you go to the library or your job, there's a suggestion box. I think you better make some suggestions to Israel because you had a tragedy happen on October 7th. And again, I'm not trying to argue right or wrong and all this other stuff. This is what's happening objectively. I don't care what side you're on. You had a tragedy happen on October 7th. And this isn't 2001 anymore. If this was 2001, Americans would probably be all cheering, maybe even me, myself. I didn't say anything about Iraq back in 2001. I wasn't cheering it on either, but I was ignorant. So maybe I would be ignorant again. But the world is not the same place. The internet is a whole different ablaze than it was then. The U.S. could not have responded the same way to 9/11 that they did in 2001 if it happened now. They could not do the same response. The videos would be everywhere. Everyone would be ready for them with drone footages of the tragedies. We saw numbers of 400,000 plus dead. Some people go up to almost 4 million directly, indirectly from the U.S. Couldn't have been done now. I talked about O.J. Simpson. I talked about that with my wife about the O.J. trial. And if you look at the O.J. trial, all the evidence points towards his son. And I told my wife, if that happened today, the internet would have crowdsourced the truth, and it would have never, OJ wouldn't even have been charged if it happened today, in my opinion. It would have been his son. Whether, I don't know who did it or not, but the evidence, the internet would have taken us way down that route. Mental issues, anger problems, and motive opportunity as well. So you guys have used a 2001 Dick Cheney, Biden, and Netanyahu. You've used a 2001 Dick Cheney approach, and you've got a bunch of barefoot Birkenstock wearing on the side, Crocs wearing people. You've allowed them to completely, just because they're barefoot or in Crocs or wearing Birkenstocks, doesn't mean they're not smarter than you. Doesn't mean that they can outplay you in the game of risk, in the game of life. You are getting played. You are on candid camera right now, quite literally, Israel. And this, again, I'm not arguing if they're right or wrong. That is objectively what's happening. You cannot objectively tell me that they're winning the propaganda war. They've got me agreeing, believe it or not, with Joy Reid of all people. That's how wild it is. Joy Reid did a segment or a little clip on MSNBC, and I think this one I can say I agree with all of, at least this clip here. Let me play this.
Using our tax dollars, perhaps we should ask some questions. For example, how does bombing a densely populated land strip filled 50% with children constitute self-defense?
Again, I don't want to argue. I'm not really arguing the merits. I do agree with her on the merits here, but my point is to say Israel is so wackadoo that you've got Joy Reid and myself in agreement. And then I'm going to get to how that plays out to Israel putting themselves in more danger. Now you've unified the Shia and Sunni Muslims, basically, underneath Daddy Iran. And I'm going to get to that. They try to play it off like, oh, no, Hezbollah is not under Iran. Get out of here. Under Daddy Iran, they've got two proxy armies over there. North, south, you got some on the east too. You're surrounded and you're unifying them. These are people that have been enemies historically. And you got me. I don't want to even use enemy, even though I strongly do not like Joy Reid. Her politics, obviously I don't know her. Your actions are unifying other people who are normally not unified. That you couldn't get me and Joy Reid to agree on. What else could you get me and Joy Reid to agree on other than you killing innocent children and people like this? That's how bad your strategy is. That's what I want to talk about, is the propaganda, not arguing if they're right or wrong here.
And given these bombings are being done using our tax dollars, perhaps we should ask some questions. For example, how does bombing a densely populated land strip filled 50% with children constitute self-defense? How does bombing hospitals, churches, mosques, and UN schools constitute self-defense? Well, you say if Hamas fighters are hiding in the hospital using the civilians as human shields, okay, let's say they are. Are you arguing that flattening the hospital and killing newborns in their incubators and their moms in the NICU, cancer patients, someone with a broken leg, the doctors, nurses, and just the women and kids hiding in the hospital, that's not a war crime? Because you would be wrong, according to international law. And given these bombings are being done using our tax dollars,
TNT says, if you're agreeing with Joy Reid, you're probably wrong. Now, TNT might be joking a little bit there and probably not joking. There's always a little bit of truth to a joke. But what I think is happening here is you cannot define whether you're right or wrong based on someone else's opinion. I ain't looking at Joy Reid to say, oh, Joy Reid has that take, I'm going to be on the opposite side of her. If you try to do stuff like that, you will be completely lost. And I know you're joking there, TNT, so I'm not aiming that on you, but it is a legitimate point of discussion. And so I have my moral, so I can look at Rashida Tlaib and say, okay, you have a point here. You're better than even MAGA on this. You're better than the populist right on this. Okay. But then now you talk about from the river to the sea and we're pro-Palestine. Now you're on some other stuff. That's where I take, that's where I look at the bus driver and I pull the cord and I say, I'm getting off at this stop. I was with you for a little bit, but you want some other stuff. Let me off. I'm on my own path. I don't look at anybody else for answers to my morality. I don't need Joy Reid. Now, if I have my morality, I stick to it. I'm always open to change my mind. Then I will look at other people. And I'm like, okay, Joy Reid, and at least that was like 30 seconds. So it's hard to do. Let's see if we could do 5 minutes of her speaking. Rashida Tlaib had that 4-minute, I believe, kind of promo or whatever, attack on Joe Biden. And really out of that, there's not a lot I fully agree with. So you would have to take 10 seconds, 30 seconds out. So it's actually not that surprising when you look at it that way. This is interesting. Bassem Youssef, round 2. Remember the Egyptian, can you call an Egyptian comedian Chad? Or is that a violation of the Chad? He chatted Piers Morgan, and we talked about that a while back. He just completely annihilated this dude. He annihilated him so bad, they pulled copyright on Twitter. When you got that stuff going viral, you want it to go viral. There's no real benefit in them copywriting on Twitter. Ain't nobody signing up to their website or anything like that. Nobody's even seen it. It's helping promote their show, the Piers Morgan show. But it made Piers Morgan look really bad. So Piers Morgan was like, let me lean into this real quick. That's kind of like going to be a theme too for this show. Like when something's bad, people are leaning into it instead of backing out of it. So Piers, I don't know why Piers did this, but it makes for good ratings, I would say. This, they had a confrontation again. This is the Egyptian, comedian that was really just so good on it. And here's what he did. He just has, this is another, you can tell he has unique takes because you don't hear these takes other places. And I'm going to play a short clip here. And the theme of this clip is, he says it's not about Hamas anymore, I believe is what he says. But it's almost like, to me, it was never about Hamas.
It's not about Hamas anymore. It is not about Hamas. They can tell you it's about Hamas, but it's not about. It is basically, they have said it many times, Piers. This is a way to kind of push them into Sinai. This is not about eradicating Hamas. This ship has sailed. I am sorry, but anybody who still believes that this is about Hamas is stupid, because
I don't agree with that.
Really?
No, because I think.
But why there?
I tell you what, I don't agree.
There are like 100 people.
I think
killed in
any
Gaza
any country that suffered the kind of terror attack that Israel suffered, with the kind of death toll that occurred that day, 1,500 plus people, grandmothers, kids, young women being raped, kidnapped, beheaded, it's been reported, and so on. Well, you can raise an eyebrow. I mean, they found a young woman's skull, right?
But what about the babies that were beheaded?
Well, there was a report, and you and I had this discussion on air. You falsely quoted me, and I wanted to clarify that with you.
His face is cracking me up. I'm sorry.
40 babies have been beheaded.
So what did you say?
I never said that.
What did you say?
I said it's been reported that 40 babies were killed, some of whom had been beheaded. That's what I said.
Okay. Totally different. Yeah.
It's a very different. Well, it is different.
Yes.
Do you accept it?
English as a second language, so
they're different things.
Of course, yes.
He is
saying 40 babies have been beheaded.
He is smart.
And 40 babies have been reported to have been killed, including
So where
some
are those
who were
beheaded babies?
Well, apparently journalists are being shown utterly horrific footage.
This comes to a very important question about credibility. Again, I'm not condoning what
Again, I'm not going to get into who's right or wrong, but you see why they're losing the propaganda war.
happened October 7th. But I'm not a journalist. But as a journalist, wouldn't you take anything that an authority would say with a grain of salt?
Yes.
Especially if this authority have a long history of lying.
So it's so much better to sit down in person and have a conversation, because part of the problem that they had was the internet connection or whatever, and he couldn't even have, he didn't even see Pierce Morgan on camera. So Pierce Morgan could see him and he couldn't see Pierce Morgan, and that caused a little bit of problem. So respect to them. They both sat down face to face. It was a very good discussion. It's on YouTube. YouTube did a good job with the algorithm, fed it to me. And his facial expressions are crazy, man. He is funny. I got to go see it. He's probably a funny comedian. They call him the Egyptian Jon Stewart, I guess. You know, Jon Stewart used to be really, really good until he went wackadoo. But you see, his point was it's not about Hamas anymore. That was his point. And I take it further than him.
It's not about Hamas anymore. It is not about Hamas. They can tell you it's about Hamas, but it's not about. It is basically. They have said it many times, Pierce.
That's why they're losing the propaganda public relations battle. Obviously, it's not about Hamas. Hamas was just in Qatar meeting with Lebanon and Hezbollah leaders, and they were probably eating grapes being fed to them by the finest Middle Eastern women you have ever imagined in your life, allegedly. And they're probably still there right now. The Hamas leaders. If it's about Hamas, no one has answered this for. I've asked many people. No one has answered this to me. If it's about Hamas, then why don't you go to Qatar where they're at? Oh, it's about something else then. And then even there's only a small percentage of people who are paying attention. But for those people paying attention, those things you can't overcome those things. And that's why they're losing the battle. I don't know what their PR answer is, but what they're doing is not working, and they're going to have to shift gears, because this is a historical mistake. Not just PR wise, but also strategy wise. And I'm gonna highlight Iran's role in all of this. Let me take a look at the chat real quick. It's about Jewish racism, is what Rick G said. You can say it's about whatever, and you're losing the propaganda battle there too. Like I said before, even friend of show Eric Smith accused me of basically Jew hate. You don't understand how harmful that is to do that, especially with no specifics or anything. Because what that does is, for me, I don't really care, but that's the atmosphere we're getting in the country. And if you just say it's about Jewish racism, it's about Jew hate, and you're not really specific about it, what you're doing is the same thing the left would do with a MAGA rally or J6. You say, oh, there was somebody at J6 that had this on their sleeve, or they had that. So that counters every single peaceful patriot, even them, if they had something on their sleeves. It's not illegal. If they're peaceful, that's not illegal. So you're losing the battle in all aspects. And I think that's why you're seeing that the anti-Jew thing being brought up, overdone, very similar to the Black D Blacks. They say everything's racist. As soon as you do that, you're the boy who cried wolf. So I think you got to reevaluate your strategy. How do you come out of October 7th with 1,400 plus dead is what my understanding is. I'm seeing different numbers or whatever, but that's what my understanding is. And you don't come out sympathetic. You got to do some real bad damage for that to happen. And what happened is you got set up. That's just flat out what happened. You straight up got set up, and let's talk about that. Again, I'm going to try to stay away from like who's right or wrong. I'm just really going into, I think this is my article where I kind of went into why I'm saying that this was a terrible chess move. I said Israel's aerial assault on Gaza emerges not as a strategic defensive but as a catastrophic misstep, a maneuver that played directly into the hands of Hamas and Hezbollah. This is not conjecture, but a reality where Israel's military action has united Shia and Sunni forces into a formidable alliance, an alliance meticulously orchestrated by Iran and tacitly supported by China. As the world watches, the anticipation for Syed Hassan, and I wrote this before the speech, but I'll talk about the speech here, and then I've got plenty non-Middle Eastern topics, but might as well just knock them out now. Nasrallah's speech on today, November 3rd, adds a layer of gravity to the situation. Iran, this is in my opinion, has played a pivotal role in the Middle East by fostering ties with both Shia and Sunni militant groups, particularly Hezbollah and Hamas. We talk about those big ones a lot, but there's a ton of other little ones. I forget their acronyms. They got all these Palestinian, and there's a lot of them that spawn off. It's just no different than a gang. This strategy has allowed Iran to extend its influence beyond its borders, creating a network of allied groups that can act on its behalf. So Iran's got two proxy groups out there now. You see them playing the chessboard. So it's almost like they're playing a game of chess, but you don't it's almost like the knight won't move. You can't automatically move the knight where you want it to move. You've got to convince it. That's what this geopolitics is. And that's why it's so important to win the public relations battle. And Rashida Tlaib and others going at them are really, the U.S. wants to move the chips of billions of dollars to Israel, special forces to Israel, allegedly, and potentially, as if this happens, men on the ground, men and women, boots on the ground in Israel. But it's harder to do that when you don't have the will of the people. And it's the same thing with Iran. Iran's like, well, we've got our own army. I forgot their name, the Iranian forces or whatever. We've got our own army, but the world now is being run through proxy armies. So Ukraine is a proxy army for the United States. Mitt Romney admitted that. That is a fact. Well, at least from Mitt Romney's standpoint, where he said, it's the best money we ever spent. Ukrainians are dying. It's only like 5% of the military budget, and Ukrainians are dying. Then he tried to clean it up, and they're fighting so hard to the casket for us to weaken whatever that means, Russia. Basically making Russia use their resources and manpower. So Ukraine is like a bishop for us. We move them here, and maybe we sacrifice the bishop for rook or something like that. So this has really helped Iran, and aligning with Hamas, Iran has effectively united Shia and Sunni factions under its strategic umbrella, thus commanding not only its national forces, but also two significant proxy armies. The alignment has been a deliberate effort by Iran to consolidate power and project its influence in the region, creating a united front of Shia and Sunni groups that are friendly to its interests and hostile to those of its adversaries. That's another reason that it's important to control these chess pieces, because in the real chessboard of life, the knight can turn into, like say you're controlling the white chess pieces. Imagine you're playing chess, but if you don't convince your chess pieces of your power or to be with you, they can change colors and go to the other team. So Iran's like, we need to have them together under us. Otherwise, these rabble rousers, these rebels, they can go against us. They could go against us and rise up against us. So it's a very big deal to have them under control. The United States, perched on the edge of this quagmire, faces a stark choice: to wade deeper into this growing conflict, which Joe Biden seems to be backing out of, which is a good sign, a realm where chaos reigns supreme, or to retreat from a war where victory is elusive and loss is the only palpable outcome. There is no winning. When is the last time we've beat a bunch of niggas in Birkenstocks in a war? I'll wait. It doesn't happen. We can kill a lot of citizens, but at the end of the day, we're out trillions and we back out, and Joe Biden's checking his watch while dead soldiers are being brought home. And no, they're not worried about losing the war, not the leaders. Israel's military offense, far from asserting dominance, has instead hastened the Shia-Sunni collaboration. So when you go and you bomb the Palestinians and they put the videos everywhere, all over the place, they've got these street journalists and they're just pumping it out all over the place. Everybody's watching it. All these Muslims are watching it. And they're like, well, I think you guys are my enemy, but maybe Israel should be that. Who's causing that? Israel's causing that. So I don't want to get into who's right. Your strategy of carpet bombing is causing problems for you. A maneuver that's played into the strategic playbook of those who aim to realign the Middle Eastern power structure. The message rings clear and unambiguous. Israel has been strategically outflanked, and the echo of this misstep will reverberate through the annals. I always like doing the annals of regional history. In a darkly ironic twist of geopolitical theater, American taxpayers find themselves unwittingly cast as the financiers of a complex and contradictory narrative. How crazy is it that they're using your and mine tax dollars, if you're in the U.S., on all sides? Iran got billions from us. Palestinians got, I don't know if it's billions, got millions from us, which, of course, Hamas has taken that money, of course, and resources. Then, of course, Israel's getting money from us. All of them. Everybody eating off of American dollars. I said the idea that America has fallen is not an exaggeration. Our country has become an empty, kind of like turtle shell, and people just use it for their defense purposes or to launder money through. We're like an empty shell corporation for the world corruption. Turkey, Qatar, China, Russia, Ukraine, Germany. You saw the Turkey stuff with Eric Adams we talked about yesterday. And then the borders are open at the same time. Our country is now just an open conduit for global corruption, fed on the backs of ignorant and toxically tolerant middle and low class workers. How about that? When I said that the era of American equivocation must end immediately, I meant the era of American equivocation must end immediately. That means enough of the, well, I'm so nice, I want to let these people into the country. No. Oh, I'm so nice, I want to give money to Israel for Israel has the right to defend themselves. They can do it. I don't even know what that means. They can do whatever they want. Just keep my money the hell up out of it. It's enough equivocating to another country. If we don't do that, middle class, lower class, upper class is going to be fine. We're going to have problems. The inflation that's being caused by this, all of this money is being borrowed. It hurts middle, lower class the most. Upper class, they go buy homes, they go buy land. Those are tangible items that are not as affected by inflation. If you're renting, you're just getting destroyed by inflation. Your 2% increase you're going to get at work, it ain't fighting it. Not when the cost of a lot of the goods and groceries are going up 25% or more, and rent going up and energy's going up. You got to really understand what it means to stand for Israel. Then on top of that, potentially you would need a draft if you got into like some real conflict, which we are at the edge of. Who knows what's going to happen? It's time to say we've had enough. I don't care what you think about Donald Trump or this person or that person. The mantra is our country first. We can disagree on what that means, but to a certain extent. But what it means is no more money to another country. It has to mean that. On one hand, our dollars bolster Israel's defense. Yet through the labyrinth channels of international aid, those same dollars flow into Palestinian territories, where I could give less than a damn about, where despot intentions of humanitarian aid, they can end up under the control of Hamas, an organization the U.S. themselves designate as a terrorist group. I mean, I don't know what the difference is. Why isn't Israel a terrorist group? I honestly don't know the difference there. I'll have to do a different lie. I haven't thought that through. I don't know why, other than your perspective, other than you like them more than Hamas. That's not a clear fundamental difference to me. Meanwhile, funds once frozen, now thawed in diplomatic overtures, we're talking about the Iranian money now, find their way to Iran. I want to mispronounce their country's name on purpose. Remember that soccer player accidentally mispronounced their name? I think he said Iran. I want to do the wrong pronunciation on purpose. A country that the U.S. government has accused of sponsoring terrorism. So the only reason I don't know what terrorism is. It's just a meaningless term. But the reason why I say that is the U.S. government themselves said these are terrorist groups or terrorist countries, and we're still funding them. It's a fiscal calamity where American generosity is stretched across a spectrum of allies and adversaries, leaving taxpayers in a morose comedy of errors, funding all sides of a never-ending conflict. Amidst this turmoil, Hamas's strategy emerges with stark clarity. The loss of Palestinian lives in the bombing is a vile, calculated sacrifice. They're sacrificing those humans, those kids, people in the hospital as pawns. So they put them there, not as shields, really, I don't think. So when they say that a Hamas base is in a hospital, do you think they're really operating out of the base knowing that Israel's dropping bombs? Really? You think they're that stupid? I don't think so. And so they're basically using them as fodder. They're not even using them as cover because I think the real people they're getting fed grapes by naked Middle Eastern women, or they're in tunnels, the middle management's in tunnels eating whatever dirt that they eat to keep alive while the bombs are coming ahead, and the bombs are killing their citizens. Sacrificed like pawns. Designed so they sacrifice them, then they take the video footage of them, and then they post them on the internet. Or they have the real people posted on the internet. Not some of those people I think might be authentic Palestinians, so not to diss them, but they are being used as well to sway public opinion against Israel, which has worked through a powerful narrative of suffering broadcast across social media. These images, raw, today was one of the worst that I've seen. Very, very raw and harrowing video and pictures spread like wildfire, transcending algorithms. So they know they have to overcome the algorithm. The pictures everyone is looking for this stuff. So the only way for them to stop it is to block it out. And that would just make things even worse, because you can get it through Telegram or other places, and then you could go at Meta and whatever other company and say, look at this. Wow. You really have no strong point to stand on while you're hiding legit footage. Brilliant. I make fun of them with their slingshots and their, blankets as parachutes and their Crocs. I didn't say they were stupid. Well, the Palestinians unfortunately have low IQ, but the people planning this right here are very smart. Very sophisticated, very, very eloquent too, in the way they phrase things. That's what Trump was talking about. How are people you're gonna go at Trump for respecting one of the basic tenets of the art of war is to know your enemy and to not underestimate your enemy. And that when Donald Trump said something to the effect that Hezbollah was smart, that's much respect to Donald Trump, because he's looking at it. He's like, wait a second, don't underestimate these people. That's what Israel did. And y'all talking about Jew hate and all this. You're lost and you're underestimating who you look at as your foe. Get right. If you really care about Israel, you have to analyze the chessboard accurately. Since October 7th, the narrative has shifted dramatically. Israel, once the recipient of global sympathy, now confronts a tide of condemnation between me and Joy Reid and Mark Lamont Hill. What else has ever, what else could you name that would unite me, Mark Lamont Hill, and Joy Reid? The battle for hearts and minds, a critical front in modern warfare, is being lost. And the implications are as profound as they are far-reaching. In this high-stakes geopolitical drama, every move is critical, every decision fraught with consequence. The world holds its breath, awaiting the next act in this unfolding saga, where the stakes are nothing less than American lives, potential nuclear warfare, because I think Israel would definitely use that if they needed to, and the future of a region at the crossroads of history. I'm not done with it. But let me take a look at the chat. TNT Cycles PDX, thank you for being a member as always. Says, my foe is the 25% of the world that are Muslim. So yeah, I have to respect that. I don't. I'm trying to think. Do I have a foe? I don't really have a foe. I would tell the Muslim people, there's no reason for me. Don't make a reason for me to not like you. I have no reason not to like you or have anything against you. If you got beef with my government, I got beef with my government. But we have a constitution. We must stay on peace. And I can tell you this: the people who are my enemies, the people who don't believe in peace. That I don't care if that's domestic or foreign. That is a prerequisite. If you are not for peace, then that's how I define my enemy. Thank you, TNT Cycles. Your foe is dishonest people. Rick G says, your foe is dishonest people. I don't know if I would even say that. I mean, the politicians lie. So I know as crazy as that sounds, I don't think that's enough. If you're peaceful, I can filter through your lies, and I think you have the right to lie. And yeah, I guess you could call it a foe, but maybe I'm off on that. You got to think through that. Thank you, Rick G. Something for me to think about. Boring Life says, the mother effers who want me to eat bugs are my enemy. Boring Life is always been based. I think I remember some of the first lives used to go by previously known as Hike Markman. And I'm like, damn, Hike Markman based. Taco was in the chat based too, and there's a couple others. A lot of people, of course, TNT and others. But Boring Life always has a way to put it, man. The motherfucker who wants me to eat bugs, that's my enemy. Yeah, especially when I said, no, I'm good. And then the motherfucker says, no, you're not. Eat these bugs, which is basically what's happening. We talked about Tyson Foods. They bought a bug company. They're going to make you eat those bugs one way or another. That's why I became highly pro 2A as a means of defense, not some type of thing to be glamorized or to act like it's a force field, but as defense. People are crazy out here. I live close to Antifa. You could go 20 miles down the street and find somebody in Antifa from where I live. And they've hit me up on X and stuff like that. I've always been on peace with them. I will chat with them. I don't know if they're whatever they are, but yeah, people are out here crazy. You might see my tagline down there. We might get to that. This is going to be a long live, so buckle up. I got a lot of topics, and I'm feeling pretty awake, believe it or not. For this time of day, this is wide awake for me for this time of day, especially after last night. We went late with Ray Studios. Virginia women Dems are hot. We will get to that later. I'm not done with the Middle East yet, though. I just have to get this out of I have to go ahead. I have to do this. This is something that is necessary. Somebody replied to my post here, and Michael said, an alliance meticulously orchestrated by Iran and tacitly supported by China, false. They, of course, will exploit it, but didn't create it. And I assume they're talking about Iran creating it, because I just said tacitly supported by China. So obviously I didn't say China created all this, but China's just looking at, they're not, which side are they going to be on? So believe it or not, that right there led into another piece, another middle MAGA blog exclusive. So you said, so I was like, okay, you want to talk about Iran? So I need to justify why my claim that Iran is using them as proxy wars. Because what's his name? Nasrallah, in his speech, specifically said Hezbollah is not with Iran or whatever, not under Iran, basically. And if you go to middlemaga.com, I have the whole speech of this Hezbollah leader, I keep forgetting his Nasrallah. I have the whole thing transcribed on middlemaga.com in the blog section if you want to look at that speech. And here's my backing of my statement that I said Iran is the one that put these two together. Here's my evidence for that. And, you know, in looking back at it and writing it, I wouldn't have used the Phoenix analogy, because in rereading it, just to let you know, in rereading it, I'm not obviously pro Iran, but it almost makes it sound positive to me. The phoenix is the golden bird, symbol of hope. Now, from the standpoint of this analogy from the Iranian side, then yeah, I think you could use that. But so just to be clear on that. In the aftermath of the Syrian civil war, a phoenix arose from the ashes of discord. So in the Syrian civil war, Hamas and Hezbollah were against each other. So now Iran rose from that, not just to claim victory from the rubble, but to weave a tapestry of alliances that would redraw the lines of power in the Middle East. Iran saw it and said, the civil war is going to break us apart, and we're going to have less power to go up against Israel, U.S., whoever else, China, whoever else. Because they're smart. They know China looks at them as like whatever derogatory phrase you would have for the Middle Eastern people. So they do business with China, but they know China looks at black people, Middle Eastern, they look at them as the worst. This is just the government of China. They just, and maybe some people, but it's mostly the government's what I'm talking about, look at them as, in Africa, your people in huts and desert people. China looks down on these people, and they know that. So they want to build togetherness so they can potentially go up against China. Right? China's not stupid. They're not going to be getting involved in any desert war. That's just not what they do. But other than building the Silk Road. And that's partly what all this beef is about. Iran extended its wings over a fractured landscape, drawing erstwhile enemies into an embrace that stunned observers and adversaries alike. So the tale begins in the throes of the Syrian conflict, a war that saw the region's players choose sides in a high-stakes game of geopolitical chess. Hezbollah, the Lebanon-based Shia militant group, stood firmly with the Assad regime, backed by Iran's unwavering support. Meanwhile, Hamas, the Sunni Islamic faction ruling over Gaza, initially sided with this is around I don't know if I put the date in here, this is around 2011. Initially sided with the Syrian rebels opposing the Iran-backed government. The stage was set for a clash of titans, with Iran and its proxies on one side and the disparate forces of rebellion on the other. But as the Syrian civil war dragged on, the landscape shifted. The fall of the Muslim Brotherhood in Egypt, a key ally of Hamas, left the Palestinian group isolated. In this moment of vulnerability, Iran saw an opportunity not just for reconciliation, but for strategic mastery. So you see what's happening. Hamas had some backing in Egypt, and that fell apart that fell apart ugly because Egypt was having their own problems then. And so Iran was like, okay, you guys have no chance now. But I don't want to defeat you because that's going to be bloody, and I don't know if I can. So you see the difference between Israel's approach and Iran's approach. Now it's a different reacting to something different. But at the end of the day, Iran could have said, we're going to go run up in there and get rid of Hamas. They could have done that. It'd be hard strategically with where they're all placed, but they still could have tried. That's why they're like, nah, this is not worth it. Why don't you come? If you can't beat them, join them. And that's what they said. This was a convergence of interest. Through a series of clandestine meetings and diplomatic overtures, Iran began to bridge the Sunni-Shia divide, drawing Hamas back into its sphere of influence. So they had these meetings, and I do have some headlines, I think, down here. Hezbollah, Hamas, more Iran's terror. That article had some stuff in it. Iran's support for Hamas fans suspicion it's wrecking Israel-Saudi deal. North Korea's covert alliance with Iran, and that's kind of China via proxy. Hamas and Hezbollah agree to disagree on Syria. This was 2014, after the Syria civil war. This is when they started to mend fences. So that's basically it. And then I went through. I went in detail in some of these articles. By 2017, the pieces were in place under the watchful eye of Tehran. Hezbollah and Hamas began a series of dialogues aimed at solidifying their alliance. This was not merely a partnership of convenience, but a calculated move by Iran to forge a united front against its adversaries. So it's a whole interesting story. I mean, you could make a movie out of this stuff. The newfound unity was put on full display in May of 2021 during the escalation in the Gaza Strip. The radical Shiite axis, led by Iran and the Palestinian organization, spearheaded by Hamas, spoke with one voice in defense of Palestine and Jerusalem. The world watched in astonishment as former foes stood shoulder to shoulder, their rhetoric and rockets aimed at the same target. So this has been in the works. The alliance's strength was further demonstrated in Syria, where Hezbollah's aid, Iran, managed to exert control over large swaths of the country. This was not just a military victory, but a testament to Iran's ability to orchestrate a coalition of forces. And then you've got the rebels out there too. The Houthis already did some rockets. Why would you want America in the middle of that? Oh my goodness, there's no easy way out of that. The coordination between these groups has been a testament to Iran's influence. This is what I was referring to. The Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, along with Hezbollah, have been reported to work in lockstep with Hamas. Financial streams, the money tells the tale. Tell the tale of Iran's commitment to this alliance, despite a temporary halt in funding to Hamas during the Syrian war, because remember, Hamas was against their proxy group. Iran resumed its financial support in 2017, solidifying its position as the group's primary benefactor, especially for its military wing. So you can see all that stuff takes us to where we are today. Divided factions of Hezbollah and Hamas create a formidable axis that challenges the status quo in the Middle East. So that's the background of it. Matthew Butt says, you need to talk to Scott Horton about Iranian-backed means. It's a highly exaggerated term. What does that mean? Is there anything that I said that you disagree with? Because that, when you say it's a highly exaggerated term, I don't know what that means. I think when you see Hezbollah lining up with Hamas, remember Hezbollah was under Iran. So I don't know, in a way. So I don't know. I would want to know what Scott. Obviously, he's more of an expert than I am, but I don't know what that means. It's a very vague term to say that it's highly exaggerated. What does that mean? They're a proxy. Without the backing of Iran, Hezbollah doesn't have the same manpower they have now. They don't have the same resources. Where are they getting the money from? They're not getting it from Lebanon. And Hamas is the same thing. Where's Hamas getting their money from? So that's what I would like to know too. The speech happened though. So this address happened, and like I said, I have the whole thing up on the website. I'm not gonna, go through the whole speech. It was a long speech. He was speaking forever, man. I think it was like an hour, believe it or not. But one of the best accounts to follow on this stuff is Fiorella Isabel. And if you can answer in the chat here. There's a delay. So Matthew Butts, if you're still in the chat, let me know if you have anybody has any idea of the Iranian connection to Hamas or Hezbollah. I mean, we know that they've met. We've seen the timeline. I don't know. Yeah, I would like to hear what he has to say there, or what you have to say. Fiorella Isabel did go to Russia. I think, unfortunately, if we had a serious country, she would be one of the top journalists on mainstream media here in our country. If we had a mainstream corporate media with integrity, that's how good she is. But she looks like she's striving. She got a new YouTube channel, if you didn't know. Fiorella Isabel has talked, basically broke down some of the speech. What is happening in Gaza is revealing, this is Nasrallah, Hezbollah leader, is revealing in the stupidity of the Zionist regime, which only kills civilians and destroys mosques, churches, hospitals, and schools. Any small army or air force can simply bomb civilians. Is this the most superior army in the Middle East? It's very similar to the strategy you see from Putin. Putin says stuff like, the West has lost their mind. And he gets it, and who he's talking to is you and I. He's basically talking to American citizens, that live in America, that know the West have lost their mind. And even though obviously Putin is not a friend, there's no reason that he needs to be an enemy, in my opinion, but he's not a friend. He's saying the right thing, so he gets you nodding your head. So this is the leader of Hezbollah, a group that I would have no care in the world about. And they start out saying stuff that, hard to argue. When Joe Biden speaks, that's not the same thing. So that's why you're losing the propaganda war. Your propaganda has to be great to overcome that you don't have as many good talking points. The West tries to tell us, it sounds just like Russia. The West tries to tell us that we have a democratic state as a neighbor, but the truth has been revealed and their lies have been exposed, the true nature of the so-called international laws. Whew, no lies detected. I don't believe in international law, but I guess they exist. And they went to the UN and they said, hey, let's investigate the hospital. And America said, no, we don't want to investigate it. Huh? What do you mean you don't want to investigate it? And then we're looking at like, wait, are these war crimes or not? These are civilian targets. I don't care who's hiding behind what. And you give them the upper hand. You give them you're giving them the moral high ground after the tragedy of October 7th. That's how bad your position is. We just realized today that America is completely responsible for the covert war in Gaza. Israel is just a tool. Israel, you could argue, is a proxy for us, but it's hard to, I don't even know. I think Israel is a proxy for the global agenda, and I don't know. It almost feels like America's the country that is empty and being used. I don't know if Israel's really the one being used here. We're being used because we've got the money. We're printing the dollars. So I think the reason why we're the one being used is the Federal Reserve. We're the ones printing the dollars. So everybody just wants a cut out of it. America is preventing a ceasefire. Tell me where he's lying. America is proving itself once again as the great Satan. It is the primary party responsible. It must be held accountable. So to me, that sounds like a threat. Let me show you my takeaway from it. If you want more on that, just go to Fiorella Isabel on X. Just excellent. I went to her for the breakdown on the Putin speech as well. This person sums it up. This is a journalist. I think this is a journalist with the same last name as Nasrallah, but I think that probably a common last name is what my understanding is. I don't know. But this person here summed it up. And this will be the end on the Middle East. Hadi Nasrallah says, if you are expecting a Hollywood-like full war announcement, you are delusional and do not understand in response to this Hezbollah speech here. You do not understand how the resistance works. Hezbollah will not instantly go into a war that results in innocent Lebanese blood and even more Palestinian blood. Nearly 60 Hezbollah soldiers sacrificed their lives to lift significant military weight from Gaza by attracting more Israeli deployment in the north. Nasrallah directly threatened Israel and U.S. from any attacks against Lebanon. He made it clear Gaza will not fall and the Palestinian resistance will win. Hezbollah's actions on the Lebanese borders will escalate accordingly to how Hamas holds. He announced that all options are open for war. Those who want Hezbollah to wage full war are either enemies who crave, I don't know who he's referring to with that, who wants that. Enemies who crave blood in Lebanon out of spite for Hezbollah or do not have knowledge about Hezbollah's tactics and their history of battles, in which not one was lost. Finally, opinions do not matter. Whether you like it or not, Hezbollah and Hamas are coordinating and working hand in hand throughout the war. The resistance doesn't act according to your feelings. And I did have a strong response to that because I think a lot of that is BS. Yes, I did expect Hezbollah to come out strongly, and they did. And I think Hezbollah actually the Hezbollah leader came out stronger than I thought. And it's hidden. Let me explain. In the Middle East, there's this penchant for wordplay, which is great, like elegant wordplay. I'm like, the elegance in communication is notable. It's wonderful. Yet, don't play games with me. If Nasrallah is indeed coordinating with Hamas, acting on behalf of Daddy Iran, and asserting that Gaza won't fall, this is a declaration of war. They're just prepping an excuse. So my takeaway from that speech was they are ready for war. It's just a matter of when. They didn't say, yes, now this is war. To me, what they said was, if you continue in Gaza, we will have basically in the speech, he said something to the effect of, you will not wipe out Gaza. So he's basically saying there will be war. It's just a matter of when, if you keep doing what you want to do. So if they don't go through Gaza anymore, then it's possible that they might not. They might just keep pot-shotting. But the nature of war has evolved. We know it could manifest as cyber attacks, terrorists affecting elections, kinetic or economic confrontations. The era where declarations of war are explicit is behind us. Nobody's looking for that. Now what Hezbollah would do and other nations would just false flag it and guise it as self-defense. You would just do a false flag and say, look, we have to defend ourselves, and then now you're in war. And that's likely the path Hezbollah will follow as well. So stop playing games with me. All these Semites over there, both of y'all, stop playing games with me. Matthew Butt says, I said exaggerate. I didn't say there's nothing there, but to say they're Iranian-backed as if they have a close relationship as America does to Israel is false. I'm not knowledgeable enough to say how close their relationship is. I don't think, who has a relationship like Israel to America? That's an insane relationship. We have an unknown amount of American representatives that have dual citizenship in Israel. We have one member of Congress that would dare say anything about AIPAC. One Republican. And I think the populist left ones are fake. And even the one Republican could be, Thomas Massey, even he could be fake, but I think he might be real, actually. Because it takes some courage to speak out against them. He didn't just vote no against this resolution, this pro-Israel resolution. He went up against AIPAC. So I think that's real. So that's not a good comparison. There ain't no who. I don't know if there's anything that exists on Earth geopolitically, other maybe China, but even China doesn't have, because North Korea, it doesn't even allow for that kind of thing. But China pretty much controls everything in North Korea, in my opinion. But not as much as what we've got here with the relationship, the symbiotic relationship with Israel. And of course, it's not that. I don't think that's anywhere. I don't know anybody that's got any type of relationship like that. Because our kindness, our American equivocation has been used as a weakness. That's what's happening. But yeah, all Iran needs is for them to be acting in their best interest. That's all they need. I don't even know why it's even worth not arguing, but even going into more detail than that. Iran makes moves to make sure that Hezbollah and Hamas don't go against them. And they all, not only that, go against who they want them to go against. Because at one point Hamas was against them. Matthew Butt says the Islamic world is certainly uniting in recent weeks. It's been uniting. I mean, this didn't happen. This happened over years, as I just stated in that article. This is going back from 2014, really, is when, after the Syrian civil war, they're calling for peace right now. No, they're not. I don't agree with that. They're calling for war. See, they're playing games. They're playing games. They're trying to say we don't want any Lebanese blood spilled, but they also say you can't have Gaza. So what is that? Either you want problems. You don't control what Israel does. Israel doesn't control what you do. I don't agree that they want peace. Maybe I'm mistaking which countries you're referring to. I don't think which country wants peace over there. I don't even know which country wants peace over there. They're all fighting. The Islamic world does not want peace. I don't think. So that's that. We saw, bringing it back to the States, the ripple effects of our borders being opened. This person actually came in 2019. So this isn't a specific gig, under Trump, but it was under a, non-work visa? What do they call those visas? I forgot. This happened under a non-immigrant visa. So basically as a visitor. And we found that this Jordanian national was arrested in Houston, allegedly planned attacks on Jews. We've got to tighten stuff up here. If you want to stand with Israel, you've got to, even if you wanted to do that, you've got to tighten up the border here before you even get into beef 7,000 miles away. And this person was here since 2019. So you got to really tell me who's here now, and you got to find them. Like, who's here now that shouldn't be here? You got to find them. You took all those energies and you hunted down anyone who put a pinky foot on the step of the Capitol on January 6th. Anybody who thought about going down there on January 6th, you went down and knocked on the door, hunted them down. You need to start hunting down people who are missing their trial dates for asylum, getting them up out of this. I don't want to hear anything about standing with Israel, not arguing even the merits of it. I don't even want to talk about it until you start doing this type of stuff here. This, quote, radical, and, allegedly, but seems like a legit radical under these terms, was studying how to build these items. I just don't want YouTube to misconstrue what I'm saying here, because you have algorithm analyzing these videos. He has viewed specific and detailed content posted by radical organizations on the internet, including lessons on how to construct these dangerous devices. FBI Chris Wray told the Senate Homeland Security Committee. although he declined to identify the dude by his name. He made some statements as well. And there he is. He's posting stuff on social media. So I'm glad that the FBI could take a break from worrying about MAGA, the white supremacists that's so dangerous in this country. As when I look in, you see anecdotal, at least, data of black people doing all kinds of stealing registers out of stores, stuffing ballots. So I think the domestic threats in our country are pretty diverse. I'd like to stop hearing about the boogeyman of white supremacy, because you don't talk about anybody else like that. If you want to talk about the white supremacy, then let's talk about the black imams or something else. Let's balance that out. Then I wouldn't have as much of a problem. We got to take care of this. If you are into protecting Jewish people, you got to talk about protecting it at home from violence and craziness like this. So the FBI learned that he allegedly planned to attack a Jewish community. The FBI made a decision to move forward with the most immediate charge available, the unlawful possession of firearms, and then they'll probably go from there. We assess that the actions of Hamas and its allies will serve as an inspiration, the likes of which we haven't seen since ISIS launched its so-called caliphate years ago. And I think part of the speech by the Hezbollah leader, Nasrallah, was a call to pro-Shias or whoever's friendly to their cause across the world. Because he talked about the U.S. a lot in this speech, and then he talked about activating, basically, whatever that means. So it's good to see the FBI taking a break from parents that are concerned about curriculum and actually doing something. U.S. officials, this more, like, if you want to talk about this, let's talk about protecting, and here's the angle I want to go with this one, protecting Jewish people in America is where I want to go with this one. And what's the boundary? Because you can say you're against Israel. I say that all the time. But as long as you're peaceful and you're not violating anybody's rights, you're okay. But here's the story. U.S. officials, Jewish leaders meet to address anti-Semitism on campus. And I have a problem with the headline. We're going to read it a little bit more here. But I do have a problem with it because anti-Semitism is not illegal. I don't care if you like it or not. Same with racism, same with fascism, whatever you want to say. Those isms are not illegal. So I don't want to hear, this is a violation of the First Amendment. If you're saying that you're going to meet with people to address free speech, that's what it is. Anti-Semitism is just a type of free speech. What you need to do is address safety. That's what you need to do. If you need to address safety, that has nothing to do with anti-Semitism. That's someone violating the space, threatening, forcing Jewish people to go up in an attic. That's a safety issue, not a free speech issue. Biden administration officials voicing alarm at reports of anti-Jewish incidents at U.S. universities met with American Jewish leaders on Monday to discuss steps to counter the surge. I'm confused. I don't understand. Tensions between pro-Israel and pro-Palestinian groups have sprung up on some U.S. campuses, according to several in New York, prompting university officials to tighten security. There's no place for hate in America. That's not true. And we condemn any anti-Semitic threat or incident in the strongest terms. I don't even know what that means. And you got to be very careful with those terms, because Joe Biden was on the podium at the Red Sermon calling MAGA supporters extremists, basically getting right up to the point of calling them domestic terrorists. So 1 second it might be you're all for this, yay, go against anti-Semitism. And then the next moment you turn around, you're a they're going against domestic terrorists, and that's you. The Anti-Defamation League, which is a disgusting organization, reported nearly 400% spike. They have no integrity. 400% spike in U.S. anti-Semitic incidents overall since October 7th. I don't even know how they define that. Vice President Kamala Harris's husband, Doug Emhoff, joined Education Secretary Miguel Cardona, Deborah Lipstadt, and the administration's special envoy to monitor to combat anti-Semitism and other. It's the same thing as calling somebody anti-vaxxer. Same type of. It's a made-up term. It doesn't mean anything. You can decide what anti-Semitism is. People, like I said, people have accused me of it. And I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about. Hamas militants in Gaza breached the barrier, and as we know, they just resetting October 7th. The White House says it was taking action to fight an alarming uptick in the anti-Semitic incidents at schools and colleges. Remember, Donald Trump did that unconstitutional bill. Ron DeSantis did another very, very, very unconstitutional anti-Semitic bill as well. The Department of Education's Office for Civil Rights is making it clear that Title VI of the 1964 Civil Rights Act specifically bans certain forms of anti-Semitic related forms of discrimination. That I don't know what that has to do with protests and free speech. So you can kind of see where I'm going with this is I don't think this is being handled with the maturity and respect for the Constitution and rights that it needs to be handled with. We need a leader, and Donald Trump's not that person. We need a leader who's not afraid to step in there. And it's crazy. Vivek sometimes feels like he would do it, and then other times he does not. But we need a leader who's unafraid and will come in there and say, wait a second, I don't need this label or that label. If somebody's having a protest, let's make sure it's permitted, meaning that not that the state is saying, I like your speech or not. The state is saying, or the university, whoever's doing it is saying, you have right to this area. Anybody who tries to cause problems, we're arresting them, not you. Those type of things. And they're not coming from it from that aspect. They talk about security. That's not specific enough for me. Matthew Butt said, I disagree that the Islamic world prefers war, but war has been brought upon them. Yeah, so that's a good, maybe I should do a call-in or something, get those thoughts out there. The Islamic world, Matthew Butts again says, the Islamic world is certainly united. Oh, that's the one I already read. So yeah, the war has been, I don't agree that any war has been brought upon them. They exist in war. Nobody, I'm not going to even, we're going back to like 3,000 years ago. They exist in a perpetual state of war. So I'm not going to say Israel brought war on anybody or Muslim people brought war on anybody. They live in war. They were born into war. That's what they are. That's what they do. That's the founding of basically their existence is war. So let's go. So the next piece here, this is wild. We're going to talk about a Jewish topic, actually. I don't get into the Jewish topic too often. I don't even think the anti-Semitic topic was about Jews. It's just about free speech more than anything. This is interesting, though. Do you know how the Black Imams say you can lose your black card? And I've joked about that quite a bit. I'm like, I probably don't have my black card anymore. Is it something that you keep in your wallet, or do you have a phone wallet, or is it digital now? Like, does it get me out of jail free or anything like that? Do I just whip out the black card and say, no, you can't call me that? I don't know what this black card is, but black people do that. They were like, you're not black. I'm like, okay, I guess you took my card from me. And that's what happened here. In the Jerusalem Post, editor's note, no longer part of us. So Avi Meyer said this was one of the toughest articles he ever had to write. while they may still technically be Jewish due to their parentage or conversion, they may lead superficially Jewish lives. So he's making a distinction outside of religion on who's Jewish and who's not. And I really couldn't care less about that intersectionality kind of battle or whatever, religious battle. It's not even that. But it's just funny. This is exactly what Nicole Hannah-Jones did with "You're politically black." He's basically saying they're not politically Jewish. I'm not going to go too deep into this article, but just that's what he's doing here. He's saying that the people who are Jewish, but are saying that Israel shouldn't be bombing innocent people. So look at this, the sit-in here. It's these demonstrators are taking part of their sit-in, their civil disobedience, and they're the ones wearing these shirts, not in our name. And I think that is a Jewish group who's saying that they're not, I don't know if they're pro-Palestinian, maybe they are, but they're at the very least saying they're not for the bombing. And the author of this article is saying that they're not really Jewish. Just like the black people do. Like, if you vote for Trump, you're not really black. If you vote for Trump, you're not black. If you're a Republican, you're not black. If you're a libertarian, you're really not black because you're just confused. They do the same thing with the Jewish identity. So what that means is the Jewish identity, it has nothing to do with religion to him. I didn't do this. He said that. The Jewish religion has nothing to do with being Jewish and that faith. It has nothing to do with the family you're born in. It has nothing to do with conversion, like Ivanka, I believe, was converted over. It has nothing to do with that. And it really has to do with, do you adhere to the narrative? Is basically what this person is saying. Unbelievable to see this. Pro-Hamas Jews can't be a part of this. He said, I never thought I would say what I'm about to say. It's the hardest thing I've ever written. Since October 7th, when the tragedy happened, I've been overwhelmed. I have spent every day fielding phone calls and meeting with American Jews who want to do all they can for their fellow Jews in Israel. I've also seen another group of Jews, though. He continued. This is a quote from Dan Elbaum. This is I found myself reflecting on Rivers earlier this week when I saw a lengthy Twitter thread by my former boss and current head of the Jewish Agency for Israel of North America, Dan Elbaum. So Dan Elbaum did this in a Twitter thread and says, there's another group of American Jews. They are a minority, a fringe, but they are vocal. Just like there's another group of black people. They're a minority, they're fringe. They make their voices heard in a disproportionate manner. These include, but are not limited to, members of If Not Now and Jewish Voice for Peace. To be very clear, I'm not talking about American Jews who have expressed sympathy for Palestinians or criticized Israeli policies. I am also sympathetic. I've also been critical. I'm talking about American Jews who say that killing the act of 1,400 Jews was consistent with the Palestinian right to resist. And who's really saying that? I'm not really feeling that. But at least they do go further because they don't do that. They don't say, to be clear, I'm not talking about black people who have expressed. Nah, they don't really do that. I'm talking about American Jews who question whether the atrocities committed against Jews are accurate or propaganda, huh? So that's the narrative. You can't be Jewish and question the narrative or you're not Jewish anymore. Give me your Jewish card. If you're Jewish, that's not me. That's Dan Elbaum saying that. I've reached a sad conclusion, Dan wrote. As much as I would not like to give up on a single Jew, I have given up on them. For me, they are deserving of Hiram, formal exclusion from the Jewish people. That's what taking your card looks like. There will be a time in the future to wonder about how such people could have emerged from our community. It should evolve. This is what these black people say when I say, am I for reparations? Hell no, I'm not for reparations. You focus on the present. What are you looking in the past for? I'm grateful that my ancestors made it through slavery. We have opportunities now. What is reparations? You're just trying to take from tax dollars to repurpose to you. And then because of that, they would say, I've reached a sad conclusion. As much as I would not like to give up on a single black person, I have given up on them. For me, they would say, I am deserving of harem, formal exclusion from the black people. I guess we have a lot more in common than we thought. It's the same type of thing, same type of energy, same type of nonsense. You know, Dan, you can disagree with Jewish people without taking their Jewish card. I thought it was about faith. How would I sound like saying I'm going to take somebody's Christian card from them? You know, I don't. You know, I would say like, hey, somebody doesn't have the same Christian, beliefs in the Bible that I do or whatever. But I would never say, you know what? Come here. Give me that Christian card. You're going to have to adhere to this narrative to get it back. You're going to have to agree with me on the principles of liberty, or I'm taking that Christianity card from you, or your Catholic card from you. The type of hubris it would take to believe that. But some people do. And the people are crazy, man. I was watching Timcast and the Culture War. Oh, it's great. Culture War is a great show. And it's really just Timcast IRL, but those episodes of Timcast IRL that would go off the topic of the trending news stories. So if he had Destiny on there, Destiny would keep pretty much on point. But if he had damn it, what's his name? Oh shoot, the lefty. Jeez, I can't believe the name of the lefty. But he would have certain lefties on there, and there'd be so many different. He had Matt Binder on there. That's not who I was thinking of, but he had my Binder on there, and the conversation kind of goes away from the trending topics to like fundamental. We got fundamental disagreements or things to talk about, and he just did that on the Culture War on his other channel. He repurposed it, and it's just brilliant. You're getting crossfire type things. And when you have people sit down who don't have the same viewpoint, which we don't get very often anywhere. If you get that somewhere, please put it in the chat. If you get opposing views of people sitting down across from each other, please put that in the chat from wherever you're getting them, because I don't see that. I don't see much of that at all. It's Culture War is the number one place that I'm seeing it. When that happens, it makes for moments that you can't recreate. You can't force. It only happens when you sit down in person across from somebody where there's a fundamental view on life, a fundamental difference in opinion. And that's what we're seeing here with Tim Pool and Stephen Marsh. They had a great discussion. I'm not playing this to really even go at Stephen. It is a wild interaction I'm going to play here. I need to preface you for that. It's wild. He hasn't had a chance to kind of follow up or defend himself. It was a good show. I'm going to play a little bit more of the show. I'll probably go back to the Civil War type stuff. But this right here, this is the reason why I would never go with a male babysitter.
Yeah. Because what you were saying is children should have access to adult content.
Well, what I would say, what I genuinely believe is, I believe in letting people read whatever the hell they want.
I don't think 12-year-olds should learn about blowjobs.
I totally disagree.
You think you should?
100%.
You think they should have a book? You see, this is the problem.
No. Just like someone as a parent.
What about
I think hiding information from children, let me tell you something. Adults are not smart enough to know what children need to know. And also, if you hide information from them, they just find it in a different way.
Well, so this is a big component.
This is a practical question. It's not a question of morality or anything like that.
No, it is.
Well, morality is of very little interest to me.
So the issue is it's
That
not
explains
about, because what you were saying is
that explains a lot. A quote: "Morality is of very little interest to me." That's what I'm talking about, man. When I talk with a lot of these lefties, God comes up all the time. I'm like, do you believe? I mean, I don't mean this in any type of disrespectful way. Do you believe in God? I had this discussion back and forth with a lefty on. This comes up every once in a while. I'm in the mood for the capitalist versus socialist utopia discussion. And basically the lefty's position is that capitalism is sin. And I'm like, well, you've turned a form of a society, well, however you would describe capitalism, it's like a form of running your, economically running your society. You've turned that into religion. Don't you see that? Because I said people sin. So people can sin in socialism. People can sin with a monarchy, with the Constitution, with socialism, with communism, with a dictatorship, with totalitarianism, with authoritarianism, with antifanism, and people will always sin. And I'm like, and I say, do you believe in God? I know you don't. In my head, I'm like, I know you don't. I just have to ask the question. They basically said, capitalism is sin. And I'm like, you're replacing your faith. You're going to have, and they said they're atheists. And I'm like, you don't see that you replaced faith in God, which I'm not saying you have to have, but the same faith that I have in God, you have in the utopia of socialism. I believe in heaven, in the general concept of heaven. You believe, and you can argue that that's just an adult version of Santa Claus. Fine. But what do you believe? And they say, well, I'm an atheist. But you're talking about the social utopia, like there's no sin that will happen if socialism came to the world. And they don't see the connection there. That's your heaven. Your faith is not having faith. You're always going to have a faith. And that's what happened here at the end, where he said, I have no interest. He doesn't have any faith.
In a different way.
well, so this is a big component.
This is a practical question. It's not a question of like morality or anything like that.
No, it is.
Well, I mean, morality is of very little interest to me.
So the issue is.
Wait, what did you say?
Morality or anything like that.
No, it is.
Well, I mean, morality is of very little interest to me.
So.
No, well, I mean, morality is of very little interest to me.
What did you say, nigga? Let me hear this clip again.
Yeah. Because what you were saying is children should have access to adult content.
So before this, Phil Labante's like, you could see he's getting a little, you can see he's getting a little elevated, where this dude, Steven's like, well, you guys wanted to ban books. And Phil Labante's like, you mean the adult books that were in children's libraries? There's no First Amendment right to have adult content it's not even that the books are being banned. He's like, they're not being curated for children. That's what's happening. And feels like, I think what's happening feels like the guy is smart. Like here's the thing, just like Elon Musk. Stephen Marsh he's very bright, very smart dude, way smarter than me. But there's almost like an intelligence meter, and then there's a faith meter. And he's very stupid faith-wise. And when you don't have morality, you come up and you lean into it. When Tim, he basically tells, if you listen to Tim, he says he does this on purpose to make sure that they admit what they really want in schools.
Well, what I would say, I mean, what I genuinely believe is, I believe in letting people read whatever the hell they want.
I don't think 12-year-olds should learn about blowjobs.
I totally disagree.
This is not what I expected. I'm going to be honest. That's not the response I was expecting. I was listening to this while I was driving home from work, and I was like, I'm driving. I'm like, wait, what did they say? And I'm like, wait a second. Wait, he didn't say what I thought he said. He you know how sometimes you almost want to be right. I like to stay out of that world because that's what happens. You know how sometimes you want to be right more than morally right, and you don't want to concede your point. That was a time where you just say, "Oh yeah, you're right. That's not what we want. We don't want BJ books in children's classrooms or accessible in a library to children, right? That's not what we want, right?"
They want.
I don't think 12-year-olds should learn about blowjobs.
I totally disagree.
You think you should?
What? He did it with strength too. He was like, he did it quick. He's like, I totally disagree.
Should learn about blowjobs.
I totally disagree.
You think you should?
100%.
You think they should have a book?
And that's why when you go to care.com, I'm going to guess you don't choose the male babysitter. Why is that? We're not the nurturing type. It's just not in us. And that bro right there, and again, I don't want to be attacking him, but let's just say some things are not for men. And that's, somebody accused me of being sexist. And I was like, your terms are acceptable. Yeah. If that's what you label as, I am absolutely a sexist. I am not. How would I look if I went on, and if you ever go to these babysitting sites, we went to one, and that's how we found a babysitter for us, actually, the one that can go consistently without asking somebody, neighbor or friend or something. So we got a babysitter who's very good off of that. I'm trying to think how my wife would probably try to play it off like it was no big deal. And then you know what she would do? If I went to care.com or whatever the websites are, I think it was care.com, and I picked a male babysitter. She would probably pay, because she wants to be, like inclusive and all that stuff. She probably would have been like at one point, like, what made you choose the dude? And I would have been like, I just wanted to see if you were paying attention, because I'm not choosing the dude because dudes say some wild shit like this.
I don't think 12-year-olds should learn about blowjobs.
I totally disagree.
You think you should?
100%.
You think they should have a book? You see, this is the problem.
Yeah, Tim is so composed, man. I would have been done. I would have been like, wait, hold. I would have been like, hold up. So Tim's like, this is the problem. Tim is too composed, man. He's like, here's the problem. I'm like, we had a big problem.
They should have a book. You see, this is the problem.
No. I mean, just like someone as a parent.
What about
I mean, I think
no. What do you mean as a parent? That you're going? It's getting worse.
Hiding information from children,
So what? So Hunter Biden has crack all over the place. Is he not supposed to hide that from children? Is it supposed to be just out in the open? Like, I don't know what his take is here. Like, what do you mean not hide it from children? I mean, there's a lot going on here. Part of it is the control over children. He wants society to have control over children. Bruh, if you want to do that with your kid, do that at home. He's talking about school. Do you not understand that?
I think hiding information from children.
What do you mean hiding information? You don't think there are some things inappropriate? Do you want to bring beer into schools? Are we hiding beer from children in schools? I don't understand what the take is. What do you mean? What we're doing is saying that as a society, we've agreed that there are certain things that are appropriate and not appropriate for children. And BJs and books is one of them. I would hope we agree on that. And we take those books and we take them out of the library. Now, if you want to do that at home, I don't know if that could be against the law or whatever. That's a different... I'm not even going to go into your home and all that. I'm not a lawyer, so I don't know what's legal or not. I think that's a problem. But we're talking about school is what we're talking about here. Parents have the rights to say, here's what we expose our children to or not in this manner.
I think hiding information from children,
He almost said it's evil. He's almost looking like it's evil if you don't give BJs if you don't show books with BJs to kids.
Let me tell you something. Adults are not smart enough.
What? Adults are not smart enough. This was a treasure trove in 48 seconds.
Let me tell you something. Adults are not smart enough.
He got the attitude too. He got the men on film attitude. He's like, he got the finger stuff and like hated it.
From children, let me tell you something. Adults are not smart enough to know what children need to know.
What does that mean? What does that mean? Who are we just? I mean, are we just throwing them out there with all the smut in the world?
And also, if you hide information from them, they find it. They just find it in a different way.
Well, I agree with that, but so what does that have to do? Do we bring crack to schools then? I don't understand what your point is.
Well, so this is a big
This
component.
is a practical question.
You're not even being practical.
It's not a question of like morality
Tim's like, actually, yeah, it is. Actually, it is a moral question.
or anything like that.
No, it is.
Well,
So-
I mean, morality is of very little interest to me.
So the
I don't know, man. There's a lot to unpack in that clip. Rick G says, I wonder if he would want 8-year-old kids to read the speeches of Hitler. I think he would. And I mean, that's not illegal. He can do. I don't think it should be done at school. That's too adult. And that's the same thing with the Roblox. I never did the segment on the Roblox. I never did the segment on that. But it's the same thing with the Roblox video game, having kids pro-Palestinian rally digitally for in Roblox with Palestinian flags and stuff. A literal digital town square with kids who could be 8 years old. This is inappropriate. This is to me it's as inappropriate as prawn in Roblox. We wouldn't want prawn in there, would we? This is political prawn manipulation. You saw I did the segment of articles on, and we are as adults are not arguing, but going back and forth. How much control does Iran have? How much control does America have? You got 8-year-olds getting in that conversation. But this person, I think he would. He said it. He said, I would not hide it. He said, I don't want to hide things from kids.
Just like someone as a parent.
What about
I mean, I think hiding information from children.
Yeah. I mean, his stance is, I mean, he could clear it up if he wants, but his stance is clear in the clip. Maybe he changed his mind afterwards. Taco for Speaker Dave, Libertarian Smith for Tupac King, Tim Pool for White House Secretary. That'd be dope. That'd be dope. Jordan Lott, what's up? Speaking of Dave Smith, Jordan Lott, you brought it up. I love this new thing, and this is inside stuff, but this StreamYard has this thing where you can bookmark. I just bookmarked a new segment. And you could do that on other programs, but StreamYard's just the one I use, and you couldn't until now, which is great stuff. So I have a new segment. Thank you to Jordan Lott. He brought it up. Let's do it. You know who speaks for me very often? Why I said I would vote for him for president. And he's not running, so I'm not going to harp on that too much. It's it's still hard to deal with. Still getting over it. But Comic Dave Smith. Let's listen to Comic Dave Smith react to this clownery, this tomfoolery, this buffoonery, this idiocracy. Right here from this was on Bill Maher.
Social media algorithms that get more engagement and more Nissan ads if they call out people and really make them look as stupid and as mean as possible. I was on the board of my kid's school during COVID. I wanted a harsher lockdown policy, and in retrospect, I was wrong. The damage to kids of keeping them out of school longer was greater than the risks. But here's the bottom line. Myself, our great people, the CDC, I'd like to think the governor, we were all operating with imperfect information, and we were doing our best. So let's learn from it. Let's learn from it. Let's hold each other accountable. But let's bring a little bit of grace and forgiveness in the shit show that was COVID.
Yeah. Okay. Pause it right there, because that is the line of the entire show. So let me respond directly to this gentleman who said, let's bring a little bit of grace and a little bit of forgiveness for the shit show that was COVID. No. No. And here's why. You, sir, as you just admitted, were on the school board, and you got it, as you acknowledge yourself, catastrophically wrong. Your decision as a school board member destroyed children's development. Okay? That is a serious offense That is a horrible, horrible thing to do. And if you want to ask for forgiveness for that, okay. But the way you ask for forgiveness for that is not by starting out with being like, and the real problem is social media, and they're just trying to make everyone look bad and look stupid, and that's the real culprit. And yeah, I made this catastrophic mistake, but you know what? It's over, and it's time to just forgive us. And then you get a round of applause for that. Like, no, I'm sorry. Apologize. With no conditions. With no blaming social media posts. Oh, yeah, it's my fault because I was posting on social media about how catastrophically wrong the decision you were making was. It's my fault that I got a lot of likes for that post, right? I'm the bad guy for being right. That's who you're really blaming when you say that, right? He's saying, oh, social media was rewarding all the people who were calling us monsters for ruining kids' lives. Because actually, in fact, it turns out there was enough information at the time to know that shutting schools down was stupid. And, it's not as simple as to go like, we were working with imperfect information and we were just all doing the best we could. And the great people at the CDC, why do you get the presumption of greatness? Why do all of these people who got everything wrong? If you're asking for forgiveness and grace, then you don't start with the fact that the bad guys are really the people on social media who were calling you out for this, who were getting a lot of attention because a lot of people were agreeing with them. And the good guys, the presumption is the good guys are all the people who got everything wrong. Now forgive us, by the way, because we were wrong. That's bullshit, dude. And it's not just that, oh, we were working with imperfect information, and so we got things catastrophically wrong. It's much more than that. The school closures weren't in the fucking first 2 weeks of March of 2020. They went on for months and months and months. The COVID tyranny went on for years. For years after it was undeniably obvious. And then all you same people turned around and celebrated Black Lives Matter riots when you weren't letting fucking teenagers go to the beach. And then what did you do to all of the people like us? What did you do to all of the people like us who were against the lockdowns, were against the school closures, were against all of this insanity, were against all the vaccine insanity when that came out? We were demonized in the most vicious ways. Even here in your fucking apology, you're demonizing the people who got it right. So no, that's not how forgiveness works. I'm actually open to having forgiveness and grace. I've forgiven people who were like hardcore war hawks. I've forgiven people who fought in the wars and killed people. And I've forgiven people who were wrong about COVID. But if you want to actually make an apology, that's not how you do it. No, you don't get to do that and then demand grace from the other side. Fuck that.
Woo! If you don't know why we rock with comic Dave Smith, that's a good example right there. Here's where we can have accountability. I call this Amnestyville. Have a seat. And I'm not saying that to that dude specifically necessarily if he didn't break any laws, but what we need is I need a full debrief. I still haven't had that. I need from the government, the CDC. Now, I think they've gone through some internal stuff or whatever. I need them to spend some money on it. I need them to spend money on here's what happened, here's what went wrong, here's what before RFK or whoever the Libertarian Joshua Smith or whoever, Michael Richtenwald, whoever's running for whatever party comes at us. Ron DeSantis even talked about some reform. Donald Trump even a little bit, even though he's not great on it. Before they talk about it, we at the CDC, we've already done an internal review. How about Congress? How about the House? I haven't seen. Have they done that? Have they done what I'm saying is a review of everything that happened during government DC actions from president to all of them. We shouldn't be playing this game where it was Trump was a Republican, so the Republican House won't review what the Republican president did or didn't do. I don't care about none of y'all like that. I don't look at none of y'all like any type of, oh, well, you're a Republican, so you're on this team, you're on my team, or I don't look at libertarians like that. I don't look at nobody like that. Who looks at anybody like that? Other than Black Imams and the AV, the Jewish article I just read who tried to take people's Jewish cards because they disagreed with them. I don't look at you like that. You're not we're not on the same team because Donald Trump is repping MAGA or something like that. What happened? I need a full debrief. Why didn't Congress have their own? Congress could have got their own scientists. Why didn't Congress have their own group of scientists with their own separate opinion, which could agree with the CDC or not? Because they knew the CDC was full of garbage. That's why. So we're depending on the same people who committed the crimes to be the ones to do the debrief. We're depending on the same people to clean up the political corruption who are benefiting from the political corruption. We're expecting the same people who are getting rich off of wars to stop having wars. And that's where we end up at. We're not even close to forgiveness. Forgive you for what? We don't even know what you're apologizing for. What are you apologizing? It wasn't even clear to me what you were apologizing for. You were wrong because of schools closing. What else were you wrong at? Because to me, you were probably wrong about a lot. You were probably wrong about the First Amendment. You're definitely wrong about the First Amendment, talking about social media boosting posts because people were bashing anti-vaxxers or whatever the case is. That's clearly unconstitutional. You know what? I don't even want forgiveness in that. I want separation. I want a divorce. That's my segment there. Jordan Locke, Dave freaking Smith clean house. That was gold. I got to do more clipping. I'm going to do more clipping today. Well, I didn't clip that one, but I'm going to do more finding clips and clipping myself with Dave Smith. Just the energies there the right way and really helped me through the pandemic a lot. Eric July and Dave Smith were some of the best. Robbie the Fire Bernstein. It's funny because Dave does a lot of going off there and Robbie kind of just chimes in and adds good stuff here and there. But the dynamic is different. Even when Robbie's not there, the dynamic's different. So it's good. You wish they could do it in person. That's the show, part of the problem. But that's one of my favorite shows. I haven't listened to it in a while. I just saw that clip on X. So I got to get back into the rhythm of listening to that show. Fell out of rhythm. Just doing a lot. But great to see that. And he's still, even though Comic Dave Smith is not running for president, he is still going to be able to affect the discussion, affect the Overton window towards liberty. And I think that probably played a factor in his decision. We can't make the proper decisions in our country if we don't get the proper information. Hedgeye says, what the F? 9 months in a row of negative job report revisions. My understanding is they're releasing the job reports and then revising them later. Things aren't good, according to Hedgeye. Meanwhile, the government is going to great lengths to cover up growing economic warts. Moments after the October jobs report dropped this morning, Hedgeye and Keith McCullough broke the data down live on the call. A couple takeaways. An astounding 1/3 of the total jobs added were government hires. Numbers in the non-farm payroll report have been revised downward every single month in 2023. He put that in bold. Insanity. August jobs were negatively revised by 62,000. Who's paying attention to this? And realize this is coming from the executive branch, to my knowledge. Let me double check this. This is coming from the executive branch. And there is no recourse. This could be a new thing for all presidents to do. There's no recourse other than impeachment to this. And I don't want impeachment unless it's a growing sentiment and it's bipartisan from the country. It's organic grassroots request, and obviously we don't have that. People don't know. People don't care about this. You're releasing the job reports. Imagine you were releasing reports at work and then every single month you'd be fired. September was revised down by 39,000. So you get the better news and then you revise it and nobody looks. I didn't know about this. Well, actually I had seen this, but I had seen this month ago. I didn't know it was every single month of the year. Through July, we'd had 7 straight months of downward revisions. The last time that happened was during the great financial crisis. This brings that streak from 7 to 9 consecutive months of negative revisions. Non-farm payroll revised lower every month, not 1 month, every month. The economy's great as long as they spend the shit out of your future and your kids and grandkids. McCullough added later on the Macro Show. We'll take the debt to $33 trillion to tell you that if we add enough government jobs with your tax dollar, this stuff's good. That's disappointing to see. I'll just play this a 30-second clip here from Hedgeye.
So again, non-farm payroll revised lower every month. Not 1 month, every month, okay? The economy's great as long as they spend the shit out of your future, if you're younger, and or your kids and your grandkids. From a deficit spending perspective, it is great. All right, we're going to take the debt to $33 trillion to tell you that if we add enough of those government jobs with your money, your tax dollars, then this stuff's good. So again,
and what we're heading towards is every politician is corrupt, in my opinion, in part because they go to DC, they see these problems, their staffers tell them, they don't know anything, a lot of them. Ted Cruz, there's not that many Ted Cruzes out there that really understand a lot of this stuff, especially in the House. They don't know what the hell they're doing. They're just a face. And their staffers tell them the reality of our financial situation. And they see the Titanic, they see the iceberg, and they say, well, I'm just going to line my pockets, and I'm okay. That's the end of that segment. Got a lot of segments. Population shift in the U.S. I'm still going strong, especially for this late. This is as animated as you're going to see me unless something crazy happens at 1:39 a.m. Mountain Time. I'm not a young spring chicken anymore. If I was in my 20s, I'd probably be wilding right now. This would be like, okay, we still got a couple hours before it's too late. Then I'd be up early for college football. I don't even watch college football anymore. I heard there's a scandal going on with Michigan, and they're trying to get Ohio State into it too. I don't know what's going on with that. I have not followed it at all. Headline, Tennessee ranked as most popular state to move into. Franklin among top cities. Okay, let's go, Tennessee. All right. Tennessee ranked as one of the top 10 most popular states for people seeking to move in 2023, according to Move Buddha, a website that provides resources to people attempting to move. They use their data to determine this year's moving trends, which saw a continuation of people leaving densely populated areas at twice the rate they did before 2020. That's a creative way of saying these corrupt, disgusting urban areas that are falling apart and democratically run. Democratically party machine ran for years. That trend continued throughout the pandemic as newly remote workers found that they could work from smaller cities in their new jobs and take advantage of affordable homes and nearby nature. Ray and I talked about this on jeez. Ray and I have a channel. We haven't done a show in a long time. We're going to do segments and get the channel popping again. It's Pop Culture Dynamics. And we talked about Tennessee and how I said, if you're going to be able to work virtually, then it doesn't matter where you live as much. You can live in some of these smaller towns and it's safer. They're more aligned with maybe where my beliefs are. And even a lot of people are afraid of racism in some of these smaller towns. And what the vibe that I've gotten from them is they don't care about you as long as you don't bother them. And, obviously if you're moving in, you got to earn people's trust. Like you're going to take care of your lawn. You're going to be a good neighbor. You're going to be responsible. and you're going to respect other people's rights. You're not going to play music loud and all that kind of stuff. That's what I'm very big on. I don't like making us disturbing neighbors and stuff like that. I'm very big on being a good kind of neighbor and resident. But you can work virtually as long as you have internet. Doesn't matter where you are. You might want good school system depending on how old your kids are, but that changes the game. That's not my situation. I do have to go in, but at one point I was virtual for quite a bit. But at the same time, early retirees called it quits. As a result, the balmy southeastern states and Mountain West swelled with newcomers. And the elephant in the room is Democratic machine policies. Franklin, Tennessee, also ranked as one of the top 10 cities with the highest number of people seeking to move there, because you look at some of the places in the South, especially with interest rates up. I mean, we wouldn't even be able to afford where I'm living right now with the interest rates where they are, and a lot of people are in that boat. I mean, some people I've been seeing, like, if you did the math on some of these mortgages, if you bought where the rates are now, some people would be paying $1,000 more per month. Obviously, a lot of people wouldn't be able to afford that. So how do you offshoot that? You get a virtual job, then you move to Franklin, Tennessee, get housing, which at this point probably still cheaper. So your interest rate's still high, of course, but the total amount is cheaper, so you can afford it, and you've got a nice home. You're probably in a suburb somewhere or a rural area somewhere, and you're doing fine. South Carolina was the top state for people to move to, and California was the top state for people seeking to leave. And the guy who is the governor of the top states for people seeking to leave just went to China to get, I guess, to get the okay from Xi Jinping for him to run for president. Who knows? That's what it looked like. Gavin Newsom was over there running over Asian kids playing basketball. How about that? How about going, nothing like going to China and running over Asian kids because you're trying to play basketball, because they love basketball in China, and you're trying to kind of show off. Or Gavin Newsom ran over an Asian kid playing basketball and then spanked him it was an awkward situation, so he's trying to play it off. So then he spanks the kid in the ass. Almost. I mean, it's like on his backside or something like that. Gavin Newsom, this is 20 seconds that I can't, of my life, that I can't get back. And I blame you for it.
I got you.
These people are so phony, man. These people are so phony. Kevin, they're just kids. What are you doing? They're like little kids, bruh. And then after it happened, you're just trying too hard, man. I just would have been like, I'm sorry, help him out. You okay? But then he's like, oh, the camera's all there, so I got to hug the kids. That's why people are leaving your state. You said you're going to fix homelessness, and homelessness has never been, it's never been worse than it is now. Who wouldn't want this dude as president of the United States of America? You try to do a spin move behind the back, and I don't know what's happening, man. You can't shoot a jumper and just play around with the kids a little bit. You got to be all serious. That's why people are fleeing your state. Well, I can't wait for that debate. When is that debate again? It's got to be coming up. The Gavin Newsom. I want to see that. Let's take a look at the top states people want to move to in 2023. South Carolina, Hawaii. Wow, I'm surprised by that one. Alaska, I'm surprised by that as well. North Carolina, Montana. Montana's beautiful. North Carolina is as well, from what I heard. Great land out there. North Carolina, South Carolina, West Virginia, Tennessee, Arkansas, Maine. Maine is beautiful. South Dakota. I'm surprised at South Dakota because it's very cold. Well, it's not. I mean, it's just, I'm a little surprised at South Dakota. California, New Jersey. These are obviously where people want to leave. Connecticut. I'm surprised by Ohio a little bit because housing's affordable there. Maryland, Illinois, Nebraska, Massachusetts. Probably jobs with Ohio. So the top cities in North Carolina, Florida, Colorado, South Carolina. These are different cities in these states. People are moving out of Bakersfield, the Bronx. Oakland is terrible. Oh my gosh. There's clips of people in Oakland, and they're basically walking out the store with the cash register. I don't know if anybody's seen that. The Oakland type of videos that are going out there they're crazy. They're crazy. It's a lot of stuff. San Francisco's crazy, but Oakland is coming up very, very crazy too. It looked like some dude, and they took their time too. They just walked through the store and just took the cash register. And I guess technically, I don't know the exact law, but if it's under, basically $1,000, I don't know if it's even illegal. Oakland, California, another day, another theft. This time stealing cash registers from a Walgreens. Casual like. We've been here. We've been here. We done that. Oakland represent. You walking too fast, bro. What you going on? I think you should be slower. If you're a professional. Call 911. Can we get a manager to the front? At least he has the mask on, right? So nobody gets COVID. But it's probably not even a stolen car. The plates are probably legit plates. Don't be in a rush. Guys, don't be in a rush now. Maybe because it's 3 of them, they could get $3,000 a piece and not get arrested. What's happened in Oakland? Are there no police around, or are we not doing laws anymore? Where are we doing this at? What country is this? Call 911. Call Gavin Newsom. He's running over Asian kids in China while in Oakland they just walking out of Walgreens with the cash register. I wonder why people are moving. It's a baffling situation. Stunning headline. People are leaving California. Why are they leaving California? Because they want to pay at a Walgreens, but niggas literally took the register. So, and they have morals like we don't want to steal, even though no one's going to stop us from stealing under $1,000 allegedly. So we're in a tough place. What do? I guess you put your deodorant back and you go find a Walgreens that still has a register. You go to the next Walgreens, there's no register there either. Because you keep following these people around and they just keep taking the registers out of the Walgreens. Don't get a manager. The manager knows what's going on. The manager's not in the front on purpose. I can assure you of that. This nigga couldn't be walking any slower. They took it seriously. When I said don't rush, I've played some of these videos and they're rushing out the store. I'm like, why are you rushing? Nobody's coming. They took it seriously. Not only is he not rushing, he doesn't have a belt on. His pants are drooping. So he can't rush. Like, he's not even trying hard. How many registers do they have? So 2 of them? Man.
Hey, call Josh.
Call Josh? Don't worry about Josh.
Can you come to the front, please? Can you come to the front?
Just get out of the way. What do you... Call Josh to the front. The police aren't doing anything. What is Josh going to do? Y'all wanted to defund the police, remember? I bet you that young lady at the register was one of the people at the defund the police rallies or Black Lives Matter. Could you imagine being at the Black Lives Matter rally in 2020, and then 2023, you're like, Josh, can you come to the front? There's a couple of niggas taking the cash register. I'm gonna need backup.
Can you come to the front, please? Can you come to the front? Can we get our manager to the front?
And then Josh came out and said, no, I saw you at the Black Lives Matter rally in 2020 talking about its reparations. Go ahead and have fun with that. I quit. I'm out. Yeah, that's why people are leaving California. Moving along, onto happier topics. The infant mortality rate is rising, and I wonder what could be causing it. The U.S. infant mortality rate rose last year. The CDC says it's the largest increase in 2 decades. So it's the largest increase we've seen in 2 decades in the infant mortality rate. Oh, well, why would that be happening? Let's check it out and see. White and Native American infants, boys and babies born at 37 weeks or earlier had significant death rate increases. The CDC's report published Wednesday also noted larger increases for 2 of the leading causes of infant deaths: maternal complications and bacterial meningitis. It's definitely concerning, given that it's going in the opposite direction from what it has been, said Marie Toma, a University of Maryland researcher who studies maternal and infant mortality. Dr. Eric Echtenwald, a Philadelphia-based neonatologist, said calling the new data disturbing, but said experts at this point can only speculate as to why a statistic that generally has been failing for decades rose in 2022. Oh, man. This is a sad... Gosh. What? We have no idea what could be causing this. Dr. Eric Echtenwald said experts can only speculate. What did that dude say about forgiveness? Yeah, we're not even close to forgiveness. A doctor, can you sometimes if my son doesn't know like a math problem or something, I'm like, give it a second. Just if you don't know, he was doing 4 times 60. My son, and I was like, and he was like, I don't know how to do that. I was like, give it a second. You know what 4 times 6 is, right? Okay, what's that? Oh, it's 24. Okay. And then we talked about what the extra 0 means. It's just tens. So just don't rush. Think about it, and then see if you can get it. And then the guy had just told him about tens and how it's easy to do the multiplication with them because all you have to do is add the 0. Add the 0, he got it. Dr. Eric Echtenwald, just take a second. Sit down. Think about it. Has anything crazy happened? Because you would think if you're seeing... I'm not a doctor. I'm not saying anything. I'm just saying, I'm actually asking, honestly, has anything crazy happened over the last couple of years that I don't know if it has a role that maybe you would want to ask about? Maybe, I don't know. Doctor, have a seat and think about it. There's something that's come to my mind. I'm going to give you a second to think about it and see if it will come to yours. Guess what wasn't mentioned in the article? The thing that came to mind. The increase may seem small. It's about 3%, I believe, increase, but it's the first statistically significant jump in the rate since the increase between 01 and 02. The CDC report's lead author said that. She also said researchers could not establish whether the 2022 rise was a one-year statistical blip or the beginning of a more lasting trend. Overall in the U.S., the death rate fell 5%, a general decrease that's been attributed to the waning impact of the pandemic, specifically on people 65 years and older. I think that's the only mention of the pandemic in the article. And maybe that's the only one that needed a mention, is that. But I would say this: I'm not going to trust the same people who were wrong on the pandemic to now research on why the mortality rate for infants is increasing. I'm going to need somebody else to handle that independently. And you know what, Congress, you can do that. Maybe that's something important. I don't know. Maybe it's important for the country to wonder why we're seeing an increase that we haven't seen in over 20 years in the infant mortality rate. I think that'd be something that we'd want to look into. People used to love Donald Trump. Back in the 90s, Donald Trump was he was not a polarizing figure. I wouldn't say he was a unifying figure, but he was a very kind of safe figure, to be honest with you. There was no real big debate over Donald Trump, and that's before he came out as a populist. I think he always was one, though. When you look back at his old clips, you could kind of see him working, and I played one with Ray yesterday, but you could always see him working. And I think looking back at these old clips is really cool. In a rare video from 1995, we're going to see Ailes. That's an interesting figure to bring up from the past. Roger Ailes, and he interviewed Donald Trump. This is a 4-minute clip that I just found captivating. Shout out to the homie Maze.
You went through some tough times, but I'll tell you something. I saw you. I forget. I saw you. I've known you a long time, and I saw you at your peak. I also saw you during those bad times. And you know what always impressed me? You were no different.
Well, thank you. That's a great
compliment. No different.
That's a good compliment. You can't take it too seriously. I mean, I know you're going to be up. I'll be up. I'll be down. You can't really. Guys like us,
keep coming.
You just keep coming. That's all you can do. And yeah, sometimes it's not easy. They say, come on out to dinner, and you have 400 people, and they're looking and staring, and they're saying, I wonder how he's taking adversity. But you learn a lot about yourself, and you learn a lot about other people. You learn about loyalty. I learned a lot about loyalty. I had people that I would have bet the ranch on, and they were not as loyal as they should have been.
Right.
And I had people that I wouldn't have, and they turned out to be, unbelievable. Really.
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah. So you just can't tell. It's not color, it's not race, it's not religion, it's not anything, Roger. You just can't tell.
Rich guys are often not well-liked guys. But what's interesting to me is the guy on the street, the cab drivers, the guys working on the road crews, they all go, hey, Donald, how's it going? Hey, it's almost like they feel very comfortable with you, like you're one of them. And I've never quite figured out how you bridged it.
The people that don't like me are the rich people. Okay. It's a funny thing. I mean, they can't stand me. I mean, I have friends, and I have not only friends, I have enemies, jerks. They work, they hurt people, they this, they that, and then they call up, can you help me get a reservation at a restaurant? Okay. So what's the purpose of being rich if you can't get a table at a restaurant? The people that like me are the people that you're talking about.
Yeah.
Rich people do not like Donald Trump.
Isn't that amazing?
Well, I sort of love it.
We're back talking with one of the most famous men in the country, and for good reason. He's also a really nice guy, and he does an awful lot for other people that doesn't get reported in the press. The press sometimes treats you good, sometimes they love to hate you, sometimes they love you, sometimes they hate you.
Well, they're very uneven. Some are very good, but I've met some of the most dishonest people I've ever met are in the press. I mean, they are literally some of the most dishonest, despicable people. And, when you see the public hates the press so much, the public understands some of the most truly dishonest. And I mean, people where you tell them something, they know exactly what they should be writing, and they write exactly the opposite for the sake of the story. They're truly despicable people in many cases.
Tell me about Mar-a-Lago.
It's a fabulous house. It's the greatest house in the United States, easily by far, by any account. And it's a great private social club right now. And it's something we're very proud of. I mean, it's really taken shape.
So now to join that private club would cost what, $75,000 a year?
$75,000 to join. And during the bad times, I'm sitting here with this house that cost a fortune to maintain, $3 million a year. And I'm saying, is this ridiculous? And I started this process to get it into sort of an income producing thing. But I really did it to save Mar-a-Lago, because ultimately, how many jerks are like Donald Trump that are going to spend this kind of money? It's truly one of the great landmarks in the country.
What did it cost to keep that up?
About $3 million a year.
Just to run it, just to keep it up.
And you know what? $3 million is a lot of money, but at bad times, it's a lot of money. So I said, you know what? I'll probably have bad times again someday. I want to make sure that this little sucker is taken care of. So it's really, it's just going to be a great thing. very, very successful.
Would you ever run for politics, or would you worry about them going after your life? I mean, messing up your life, messing up you too. How would you feel if he went into politics?
I think he would do terrific.
You know, there's a certain dishonesty, unfortunately, that you need for running for office. Now, it's an unfortunate thing, but you would know this perhaps better than anybody in the world, right?
I've coached a few.
I'm a pretty straight guy, and I'm not sure that somebody that really calls it like it is and says this is what you have to do, I'm not sure that kind of a guy gets elected. Maybe so, maybe not. Everybody wants me to do it. They all want me to run. But I would take a much harder stand. I'd take a much more difficult stand, I would say. Make a couple of enemies. I think I'd make a lot of friends ultimately. But I'm not sure that type of person is really electable.
If the United States government took a firmer stand with foreign countries, would we be better off, or are we so much now a part of the community of nations that we can't really afford to offend anybody?
I think we'd be better off, and I think we'd be far more respected. I just think that people would have far greater respect for this country if we took a much tougher stand.
It's surreal watching the old Donald. Is it just me? Watching the old Donald Trump clips, and you can see the path. You can see the trajectory to where he is now in those clips. And Steve Bannon talked about it in that famous PBS interview, saying that the base of populism was already, he didn't know what it was. Who cares what the label, he didn't know what to label it, but his ideology was already populist, as you can see right there. He was like, the rich people, I got beef with them. He didn't really have an answer to how he could relate to people. He's just like, I'm just pretty real. I think comes across as just a pretty straight shooter, pretty real, a guy who you can relate to from the standpoint of, if you cross, I'm a peaceful guy, funny guy, whatever, but if you cross me, then you won't like that type of guy. And you get that good presence from him. And he was right when he said, it's funny hearing him say, like, hey, I don't know if my style would be electable. Nobody thought it was electable, even in 2016. But this clip is from 95. It definitely was not electable in 95. That would be more of a Ron DeSantis, even that style. But Donald Trump came from that. He was very popular and sacrificed. And, I'm very critical of Donald Trump, but I do say it. I think I do say it, but I want to make sure that I do say it. Grateful for that man right there. If it weren't for that man, I don't know where my progress would be. He's the one that woke it up, because when he woke me up in a way, right up out of the Matrix, and he was talking about fake media, fake news. At that time, I didn't think the news was fake, so I'm like, I didn't think he was lying or wrong. I just didn't understand it. So I heard the fake news accusation, and I was like, I don't know. Is it just political rhetoric, rhetoric type of stuff? And then you saw the lies, and then you're like, wait a second. When he said fake news, he really meant fake news. He really knew the news was fake, and others did too. I'll keep showing old Trump clips as we see them. This two shows in a row. We got old Trump clips. And you fast forward to now, and Donald Trump he's had an election stolen from him overtly, and he's been arrested 4 times. It's a very startling change from 95 to 2013. Could you imagine going back in a time machine and telling Roger Ailes Donald Trump will become president in the future? He probably wouldn't be surprised by that. And then if I would have said he would beat Hillary Clinton, he'd be like, damn. And if I said they would have stolen an election from him in 2020, he'd be like, damn. Could you imagine? And then it'd be like, on top of that, after the election got stolen, the people who went to D.C. to protest it got arrested and unconstitutionally held before trial, and then couldn't get a defense, got whacked juries, had to go to judge bench verdicts, and got hemmed up. And Alex Shepard, for example, young man, crossed the barricades, didn't do anything violent or anything like that, got 19 months, just went in to start serving and stay strong, young man. But if you would go back in time and tell him, then they would arrest you, Donald Trump. You've never been arrested before. They would arrest you 4 times. 1 in New York, 1 in Georgia, twice federally, over free speech, accusing you of violating parts of the Espionage Act. And now you don't know where you're going to go. You don't know what's going to happen in the future. We have no idea what's going to happen in 2024. While you're running for president again in 2024, where you're going to be 80 years old, but I think he's 77, 78 now. While you're running, they put a gag order on you in one of the trials, in the election trial. Trump requests stay on gag order in election interference case. And there he is now. We saw him before. And then not only that, there's other trials that are trying to take all your property from you. They're destroying, trying to go after your family. They're trying to go after anyone that's ever been associated with you. One of your lawyers obviously did nothing illegal, Jenna Ellis. Well, I don't know if she was technically a Trump lawyer or not, but was helping on the case for the election, did obviously nothing illegal. Wasn't even alleged to have done anything illegal in the indictment other than the RICO conspiracy. Pled guilty, and others. Lots happened over the years. And First Amendment is one of the biggest things that these people in charge, they don't want to have happen. They don't want people to have the First Amendment rights. That's why when somebody walked up to John Fetterman, asked him questions, some reporter type dude or a guy who said he voted for Fetterman, he was peaceful, wasn't violent, asked John Fetterman a question. Security came in, swooped in, moved him out of there like he was a physical threat. It wasn't the physical threat. It was the threat of a question that John Fetterman, because his brain is scrambled eggs, had no idea what he was talking about. Late Thursday filing gave the D.C. Court of Appeals until November 10th to issue a decision on whether it would stay the limited gag order, which prevents Trump from commenting on court staff, federal prosecutors by name, and potential witnesses in the case. That is a big problem because a part of the First Amendment is for you to be able to defend yourself in the court of public opinion. You have the First Amendment right to talk about your prosecutor, your witness. All of that is protected speech. It should not be under any type of gag order. That is trying to make it harder for Donald Trump to fight these charges. If you accuse me of something and I'm out on bail or whatever I'm out on, I should have a right to say the prosecutor's going after me and there's nothing to it. This says you cannot talk about the federal prosecutor by name. No witnesses or anything, court staff. Obviously, if you're threatening, there's already laws on those type of things. But Donald Trump is being putting a gag order on him. Why? Because his speech is pretty powerful. Imagine if he was on Twitter. They'd be going twice as hard. I don't understand why he's not on Twitter. I mean, you're fighting for your life right now. You need all the amplification you can get. You need all the donations you can get. You're fighting for your life with the court cases. They're sucking up your funds, and you're still running for president. After he got the mugshot, he was on X, and he wasn't on X. He posted on his account, here's my, donation money. Here's the mugshot. It was one of those moments. And I knew it didn't signify him coming back. And he's making a mistake. I don't know if there's a contract or anything like that. Let's assume that there's not. He's making a big mistake. X is a big platform to amplify that voice. There are accounts that do repost his truths onto X, and I follow them. I don't have time, man. I got my Discord, I got Twitter, trying to build that up, and I don't have time to go to Truth Social. And I don't even have time to go to Gab. I like Gab a lot. And Getter is completely out of my rotation right now. I used to like Getter. No court in American history. I still do. I just don't have time. No court in American. Is there an app that posts to all of them? But I think they're pretty expensive when I looked into them. No court in American history has imposed a gag order on a criminal defendant who is actively campaigning for public office, let alone the leading candidate for president of the United States, Trump's attorney said in the filing. And I wasn't even going that route. You don't even need that route. But on top of it, you've got double problems. Virginia Democrats are hot, man. Let's get to it. I'm not counting this as smut. This is not smut to me, because here's why. Smut is like when I go to find something and I turn it into a smut conversation. That's smut. This is me reacting to legitimate news that's something that really happened. I said Virginia female Democrats are so vile, it's actually a turn on.
Avoid yellow snow. Yeah, I'm peeing. Avoid yellow snow. Yeah, I'm peeing. Avoid yellow snow. Yeah, I'm peeing. Avoid yellow snow. Yeah.
We're not doing well.
Avoid yellow snow.
We're not doing well as a nation right now.
Yeah.
We're not doing the best.
Avoid yellow snow.
Jesus doesn't love us the best right now. Jesus doesn't. The accurate quote
snow.
is, Jesus loves me the most.
Yeah. I'm peeing. Avoid yellow snow.
Jesus, I don't know. Jesus, something's off with us. We need some more love.
Jesus loves me the most. Seriously.
This is a Virginia Democrat. And she put herself on TikTok. There's something crazy with TikTok. I haven't even messed with TikTok in a minute. Other than if like my brother or your wife will send me a link, which is cool. So I still have the app, but I actually don't go in there anymore. I don't know why. I'm not purposely not trying to go in there. I just don't use it anymore. But this is Jessica Anderson. Well, let's call this the Yellow Snow segment. The Virginia Project said this is the world's unsexiest pee tape. She's peeing outside. That's totally normal to record yourself narrating a urination experience like the complete psycho, then post it on TikTok, then run for state legislative office. Perfectly normal. There's nothing wrong with our society. TikTok is perfectly safe. The algorithm is not rotting our brains from inside out. Everything's on the up and up. Everything's kosher. Everything's okay. We just have people running for state legislative body who are outside peeing and narrating their experience. Other than that, everything's perfectly fine. And remember, this was the same state where Susanna Gibson got involved. And you remember what Susanna Gibson was into. This is why I'm saying it comes full circle. I'm telling you, it comes full circle. Like I talk about Kanye West. He's a perfect example. A dude who's just brilliant. Musically, artistically, he's an esoteric piece of brilliance, a brilliant mind, objectively. But something happens where it's full circle and your brilliance turns into insanity, chaos. It turns into bipolar, allegedly. It turns into something that's not good anymore. But the same thing can happen to something crazy. Somebody crazy can come full circle and then turn into brilliant. And that's basically what happens with Ye. Brilliant turns into crazy, crazy turns into brilliant, and that's his life. For Jessica Anderson, how it applies is she is so vile, and then she's come full circle with her vileness that I think it's actually a turn on. I'll speak for myself. That's how vile she is. I think she's so vile. She turned it into something that's, I don't know, semi a turn on, semi high. You know, they tried to hem up Donald Trump on the Steele dossier. And part of that was allegedly he liked, obviously we know it's a fake document at this point, but in the document, it alleged that he liked basically yellow snow showers. And it, just like everything else, it turned out to be projection. This is a peculiar act. And I said, I wonder if she recorded herself and the sound wasn't loud enough, and then she edited it in during post editing. This really here, what she's doing is, I'll tell you what she's doing. She's doing exactly like what the real thing is on the pro-Palestinian rallies. They're really about going after Western culture. And anything that would offend somebody who could associate as a conservative, not even politically, just like in life or traditional, she has a nose ring, nose piercing, is to go against it. So she knows that somebody like myself would look at this like, so I'm not politically conservative, but I think you would say maybe socially conservative, where I would think anyone who, I think right now, if you think that's disgusting, you're socially conservative. And she knew that that would ring a bell with those people and get people talking, and you get an A or you get an F, and she knew she's out in the woods somewhere, probably has just walking. That's not unusual. When you're out in the woods where you have to go relieve yourselves, and there's no outhouse, you got to go out in the trees. But what's not usual is to use it not just to record, it's a virtue signal. What's the virtue signal? We can attack the society norms. That's the virtue signal. And that's what she's going after. We saw Susanna Gibson, and I think this was more of a fetish, but I think we got both of them into fetishes right now is what they're both doing. And Susanna Gibson had her own fetish, and we talked about that when she was in the news, covered that pretty extensely. Susanna Gibson's the same state, and I think she's running for state legislative body too. Yeah, same state, House of Delegates. Susanna Gibson, what's in the water over there with the Virginia women running for state level office?
Middle MAGA.
Can you guys hear me? Yes. I am Susanna Gibson, and I'm running for the Democratic nomination in the Virginia House of Delegates in the 50. I didn't touch it. I did not make it.
Breaking news, middlemaga.com is now fully in support of the Democratic Party, and in particular, driven by Susanna Gibson, a Democrat running for this seat in Virginia's House of Delegates. This is the state of Virginia politics. She is alleged, I'm just reading the news, to have performed live online sex acts with her husband and encouraged viewers to tip them for specific requests.
Who is it? Good evening. I'm in love.
She's willing to sacrifice for that seat. Susanna Gibson, a nurse practitioner and mother of two, is said to have streamed these acts on Chatterbait.
Hello, nurse.
That is Virginia for you. And these are the same people who have the audacity to label you and I as extremists. So what do these terms really mean? It's just about having the power to label somebody else as extremist. She's peeing in the woods and recording it. And yet you and I are the extremists. Nate's memes says the leftists are always projecting what they do on the right. And they truly are. I think what Susanna Gibson and Jessica Anderson could do, I think what they should do is everything. We bring everything back, right? Remember about 20, 30 years ago? 2 girls, 1 cup. Hear me out. Jessica Anderson, Susanna Gibson, recreate that moment. Sorry that we had to end on that one. If you know what that is, that's not a good one to end on. So we'll keep going. Oh man. And I'm going to do this one here. This is kind of funny. This just came up before I went live too. So it's not like this is a deep prepare. We're in the silly portion of the show. We're in the silly portion of the evening, everybody. And I'm too tired to even be silly. But I kind of went back and forth a little bit with this dude on Twitter who he's the dude that ran up on the Ripperverse, I believe. He ran up on the Ripperverse studio. And I'm going to go pull that up. I was like, touche. I kind of was like, hey, I'm a Ripperverse fan. And I was like, y'all goofy over here. He's Young Clipper, so I guess he's doing a little parody. This is weird, man, because I'm a big Rip fan. We're gonna get into we're gonna see Monday, I believe it is, the release of Alpha Core. Kids, I told my kids, Alpha Core, we're not gonna get it. I had to keep telling them, we're not gonna get Alpha Core Monday. It'll come after mailing, and it's pre-order. And so my kids were like, "Oh, yo, he's doing that." We already talked about it. I guess they forgot, but he's like, "Oh yeah, they're doing the Alpha Core standalone. Oh, cool." And then I was like, guess who's going to be in it? Yaira. He's featuring Yaira a little bit in the Alpha Core, so that's going to be interesting. This dude goes by Young Clipper. This dude goes by Young Clipper. Y'all niggas weird.
I don't know what else to do, Wolverine-ly.
Okay. I don't know what's going on. This is really the silly portion.
I don't know what else to do.
Young Clipper, making a play off of Young Ripper, says, people always thinks I sound defensive on here or in the DMs, but I have never been defensive. I'm on the offensive, however. I'm probably going to be 100% outright confrontational. I'll be combative even. I'm usually in a manic state. I lust for conflict. So he's trying to come at Clipperverse Comicsgate supporter. And I was like, man, y'all niggas is just so weird. It's just... But then he came back at me, which was... I like how he did it, too. He was like... I was like, y'all niggas beyond weird. I don't know what's happening. He was like, yeah, and I smell like trash, too. I was like, okay, you don't even take yourself seriously. That's cool. And I was like, touche. I'm a Ripper fan, but I respect that reply. He said, I'm the world's biggest Ripper fan if you squint. So I went to his YouTube, and here's the trailer for this dude. Yeah, you could say I'm stupid for hyping it up, but I'm not trying to hype it up, but I just thought it was interesting. I'll put this on my other channel. I haven't uploaded in like a year in my other channel.
On the Clipperverse.
I'll rip another verse if you don't let me shave you. I'll hell the Clipperverse. I some cannot save you. I'll rip another verse if you don't let me shave you. I'll hell the Clipperverse. I some cannot save you. Pull up. Yeah, pull up.
Ignore those super chats, you son of a bitch.
I'm about to pull up.
I ain't never gonna stop pulling up. I'll be back anytime I want to. What's up, funny battalion? It's me, ASC Riley, the king of the Clipperverse.
How come I only get $2, asshole?
Pull up.
You gave the other guy 41.
Pull up. I'm about to pull up.
You're a fucking pussy! If you don't say sorry, we're coming for you!
so many levels.
Hey, Bob. I'm Canadian, Bob. Sing, sing, sing.
Previously, I honestly don't know what's happening. So I don't know what to say, other than I'll be honest with my takeaway is it's very clear why I'm not saying anything as defense, because there's weird people out here that you must be able to defend yourself. And I don't think I like this reply. I don't even think that he's a threat like that, but I don't know. But that's why you wonder why I'm pro 2A, man. Just in case, just be safe. There's some weird stuff out here, man. Y'all niggas is, I don't know, man. Y'all niggas is on some crazy stuff. But I said that as far as the Rippaverse goes, let's go talk about the actual Rippaverse now. As the Rippaverse goes, it's funny how it's telling how when Eric July, because I watched Eric July before, obviously he launched the comic books, when he was just criticizing these corporate outlets for their direction in their movies and comic books, the IPs that he grew up loving, that a lot of us grew up loving, when he was critical of them, he didn't get that much flack from other people, not like he does now. When he started to do something about it, when he started to change the Overton window towards focusing on the product and the customers and not having an ideology that agrees with the state. When he started focusing on that stuff, then he got a lot of pushback. And I think that shows you that people even if it's just instinctually, understand that there's something going on that could hurt the people that they look at for truth and justice. Because remember, they don't believe in religion. They look at the government. And what they look at is them for truth and the direction and the path and morality. And if Young Rippers has success, other people might as well. And that takes the power away from a centralized source to decentralized. And that brings us to Alpha Core. Here's the first. You're gonna have the animated teaser trailer. I think there's gonna be voiceover in the one dropping Monday. But here's the teaser that we have for Alpha Core. There's no vocals, so I'll talk over it just to explain what's happening. Beautiful scene here. So we've got the scene of Floor Spark and a pigeon. So I don't know about this base in the sky. So we don't know much about Alpha Core. But we do know that creature. We do know Yaira there representing another animation. And I like how he has it kind of reminds you of Marvel where they flash through all the animation with the Rippaverse. So he's going to have the full thing November 6th and the pre-launch, I believe.
Previously on the Clippaverse.
So I subscribe, so I'm a member, so I'm going to jump up on the website and we're going to get that Alpha Core book. I still haven't done a breakdown of 2 or 1. So I'm going to have to go put my thoughts together because I want to do, you know how Eric July does like really good breakdowns? I want to actually I don't want to script it out because I sound terrible with a script. But maybe I could write an article. That's not a script. I like reading the articles. I don't like scripting it out. I just can't. It just doesn't sound right. But I'm going to go on. We're looking forward to that. We'll be talking about that Monday for sure. Oh, yeah, Monday. Let me talk about Monday. We're doing stream. Stephen Ignoramus and I are doing a stream Monday, 8 to 10 p.m. evening Eastern, 6 to 8 Mountain. 6 to 8 Mountain. You're going to have a stream. We're going to try to do that once a month. We're going to set that up as once a month. The first Monday will be this Monday. So I'm excited about that. We're going to keep that going. Nate's Meme says, I like Eric July. Bought a couple copies to support the first campaign. Cool. He said that was funny. The Quran teaches to unlive non-believers. They have songs about unliving all non-believers like dogs. Whew, that's a crazy. I don't know anything about the Quran. I can't comment on that. I would not be surprised. The Matrix was trending today. And what a movie. What a movie The Matrix was. Matrix and Religion, is it a Christian film? This is an article by Austin Klein. Said, let's review some obvious Christian symbols that appear. Some people say it's a trans allegory, or it's this allegory, or that allegory. The main character, played by Keanu Reeves, is named Thomas Anderson, Mr. Anderson. The first name Thomas may be an allusion to the doubting Thomas of the Gospels, while etymologically Anderson means son of man, a title used by Jesus in reference to himself. Another character, Troy, says to him, hallelujah, you're my savior, man, my own personal Jesus Christ. And that you could obviously kind of see because everybody was like, he's the one in the movie. Anderson Hacker, alias Neo, is an anagram for the one, a title which is used in the film to refer to Keanu Reeves' character. He is the one who is prophesied to liberate humanity from the chains that imprison them in their computer-generated illusion. It's hard to watch the movie and not see that analogy. That's a pretty obvious one. And they go on to talk about it in other elements, but I just wanted to touch on it for a second because The Matrix is a movie that, and, I thought about it as it was trending. I have no idea why it was trending, but as it was trending, I thought about it. I was like, man, I don't know if there's a day that goes by without me at least thinking about The Matrix in part one, because it's become almost like vocabulary, vernacular, to talk about The Matrix.
Do you want?
Man, and it's hard to start that movie without just finishing. What a movie. Ahead of its time, 1999. Almost 25 years for The Matrix. I'm going to end on Heidi Klum, and it's a short, very unimportant topic, that's for sure. So I'm not saying this is important at all, of course, but the takeaway from this is when somebody commits to something, they can do whatever they want. Whether it's looking goofy, whether it's dressing up how you want to dress up. I'm not even saying that I'm not even going to say she looks goofy here. I admire her strive and her commitment to whatever she does. She went to her Halloween party that she has every year. This is a big deal for celebrities or whatever. She went to the party as a peacock. She was Jessica from Who Framed Roger Rabbit one year. She was a giant rainworm. She was the girl from Shrek. This is one of the more wild costumes that I've seen. She looked like to my knowledge, it's a peacock. And she sold it, man. When she talked to E.T. Entertainment Tonight, she kept it going. She was not playing games.
Doing that? It's glued to your face. Yeah, but, I can still fully move everything.
Heidi, you are the queen of Halloween. You've done it again.
It was so fun.
How long did it take this year?
Maybe hair and makeup took maybe 6 hours, but really it was more in the planning and, meeting with the artists, figuring out their costumes, their makeup,
and
also
gymnastics
dance routine or your dance routine for it? It was so good.
Yeah, it was fun. And yeah, if you see like in the details, you can see like basically my feet go with, you know, the person that I was standing on. So we all have different kind of prints within our fabric so that, you know, hopefully when you zoom out, you know, it kind of melts together.
This is what she's talking about. She was commitment. She went full blown. So this is Cirque du Soleil. So she hired Cirque du Soleil for her costume. I actually saw them once. It was a cool show. It was better than this. I don't know what this is. Oh my gosh. She did a split like oh my goodness. And that one looked a little thick to be wearing these skin tight things, but and then they're gonna form. This is actually cool. So that's her, and then they form the peacock. I know, at least it's not devil, unless they always put like devil worshiping like stuff in there. Can you imagine? Isn't life great when you can afford to act a damn fool with all the money you have? And everybody's saying that's amazing. Yeah. Well, I think she's an international figure. I believe she lives in LA, California. Is your typical California person with money? I think this is FU money, right? This is what it really means here is when you can do stuff like this, that's just straight up FU money. I got so much money.
Michael, pull back.
She's looking at, what do you want her to do? That's when you have so much money, you just like, man, I can do what the F I want to do, man. Isn't that good money? You know, for me, I would, you know, I'd probably get a real studio, get a better camera, you know, just do little stuff like that. Heidi Klum, she turns herself into a peacock and hires Cirque du Soleil. Money just, it doesn't change you, it just makes you more of what you already were. And I'm out. But it's going to make me, I'm addicted to YouTube streams. I wasn't even supposed to stream tonight. Then I did it's a literally 3-hour stream. My wife's going to be like, what the hell are you talking about for 3 hours? My wife's like, who the hell is listening to you for 3 hours? I'm like, no, that's not how it works. People come in and out. You can listen in and out, you know. You never know who's going to come in and listen. Like I jumped into a Bryson Gray. He was on a Twitter space, and I haven't been in his live in a minute. He was on a Twitter. He did a Twitter stream for the first time. Hopped in. You never know who can hop in. You never know who will hop in. So it was a hell of a journey. We went from Hamas and Hezbollah to Heidi Klum and having so much money that she can just say F you and dress up like a giant peacock. And people don't clown her for it. They say, Heidi, you look so good, Heidi. I think people need to tell people the truth. You look weird. There's nothing better you could have done with that money? I'm not going to tell you what to do with your money, Heidi Klum, but we're in LA. There's a couple homeless people down the street. I don't know. Maybe fire one of those Cirque du Soleil guys and get them a burger or something. You still have a lot of money left over. You're the one that's supposed to be for the social causes, right? Here's the social cause they really care about. Turning themselves into a peacock. We're going to go into the weekend good. I don't even have any, but the kids' sports are done because it's too cold, so they ran out. But we might do indoor tennis. Indoor tennis is fun. I might get my kids into some tennis, basketball. We don't really hoop. I don't have a hoop here. It's hard to get shorter hoops. So I might get him into some basketball. I got to get him doing something. But then we can do more stuff on the weekends since we don't have sports. Maybe go out to eat. And I think that's it for the weekend. But, I'll always try to sneak in a live or something like that. I'm going to try to do some upload. It's 3 a.m. in Mountain Time. And I still might try to do a little bit of editing. I say that every night. And then as soon as I start editing, I fall asleep. I'm out. I appreciate y'all. Oh, I saw that. Yeah, Nate's memes are talking about the trans. Yeah, I know. I saw that. Actually, did I do a segment on that? I don't know if I did a segment on that, but I have it. I uploaded it on X. They credited trans prawn. It's kind of disturbing, to be honest with you. And I'm not against them. I'm just saying that the trans prawn part. So I don't care if they're trans. I mean, there's trans people I big up. Sarah Higdon and others. But here we go.
To be honest, like for me, the people that I saw, the first images that really struck a chord with me were, trans women and pornography. And there was something that
Really?
unlocked in my brain that I saw these wonderful, fearless performers becoming desirable. And in my head, I could take the leap where I felt like, well, if I could be desirable, then maybe I could be loved. And for me, that's like one of the keys that trans people have to struggle through. Will somebody love me? And so, yeah, that's my answer, Nick Adams.
Wow.
That's an excellent answer, Lily Wachowski.
To be honest, like for me, the people that I saw, the first images that really struck a chord with me were, trans women and pornography. And there was something that unlocked in my brain that I saw these wonderful, fearless performers becoming desirable. And in my head, I could take the leap where I felt like, well, if I could be desirable, then maybe I could be loved. And for me, that's like one of the keys that trans people have to struggle through. Will somebody love me? And so, yeah, that's my answer, Nick Adams.
That's an excellent answer, Lily.
Yeah, that's I guess she goes by her. That's tough to watch. I'm not going to comment beyond that. Nate's like 100K probably. How much that costume and performance call? Probably 100K. Probably 100K easy. But you could probably buy a house. No, not with interest rates here. You could probably buy a house on the east side of Detroit for how much that costume costs. The Wachowski bros claim the Matrix is allegory for transitioning. I don't believe that. I don't necessarily. I'll have to look at the timeline. So I don't know enough to say. I'll just say this. I don't believe their comment on face value. I don't know enough to say definitively I think they're lying. But I gotta. What's the timing of all this kind of stuff? It seems convenient because back then I didn't hear anything about that. Well, I think we did hear something about it later on. It wasn't in '99. I didn't hear anything about that, but maybe I just wasn't on the internet or whatever. I didn't hear anything about that until way later afterwards. You can make it an allegory for anything. You can retroactively say it's an allegory for many things. But that's fine. I mean, it's a piece of art, so you can make it whatever you want. To me, it had nothing to do with transitioning, but I still don't even fully understand that take. But yeah. That's the beauty of art, though. You can interpret it however you want. I'm going to interpret this bed and get to sleep. Take care. Peace.